Initiating System 1. System 1 loaded.
The GoreCast is brought to you by American Horrors, the greatest uncut horror channel in the world. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all horror. As well as the station of decapitation without your head.
America's longest running horror channel, www.withoutyourhead.com.
The following program is rated TV MAL. It contains strong language and is intended only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion advised.
What's up, GoreCasters? Welcome back here to the GoreCast with me, Johnny Deadly, and all of my debunking conspiracy theorist crew to the adjacent side of me, which is opposite to what I was going to say, but in fact actually the right direction to the way you're looking. The GC crew, consisting of... What
direction am I supposed to be looking at? Opposite to the way you thought I was going to say, but the direction you're looking in.
It's moving upwards, but also downwards, and leftwards, and rightwards, but always twirling into an infinite dimension.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, we got,
I'm dizzy already.
Yeah, we'll look at the big screen because my eyes just went, nope. We got Bree in the chat, we got Bill in the chat, we got Katie in the chat.
Hi, Bill. Hi, Bree. Hi, Katie.
We got Pam in the chat. Knew we wouldn't miss Pam for a whole bunch of alien conspiracy theories.
I think we have Cinema Reaper further up somewhere.
In the chat, and we may have Cinema Reaper.
We got Jane.
Oh, hi, Jane.
Jane, what's going on? How are you?
The Midnight Rider.
Midnight Rider, what's going on? How are you, sir? Good to see you in the chat. I think that's everybody. Jane O'Doherty. Apologies for not mentioning you initially. I was reading off the screen, and you've all been so chatty while we were loading up. It literally moved you all away from my eyeballs. So that has been covered now. I will have to be jumping back and forth on the chat nizzle. Show. We got Rochi in the chat as well. What's going on?
Hey, Rochi, how are we getting on?
I don't know who Poppy is, mate, and I also don't know why the size of her cock is in... All right, and why is the size of her cock in debate?
I have no idea. She's most definitely female.
Yeah, it was a joke. You wrote poppycock. I wasn't expecting you to elaborate more on the poppy thing.
Right.
Hey, put it out there. There's always going to be a comment made.
Full discretion.
Sorry. She does the theme song for NXT, and she did like.
Yeah, I know who Poppy is. I wasn't. Although, come to think of it, if anyone in the chat was probably going to be speaking of that Poppy, also, it was probably Rochi. So,
see what I mean?
Well done calling it out there. Though, in saying that, the likelihood of him actually being the one mentioning her in that particular regard is highly unlikely.
Joke.
You never know what the smeg is going on in the goddamn comment section.
You just ruined that. I like the fact that you use smeg. I know we usually use smeg anyway, but I like, especially considering what we're talking about now, with space travel and all of that kind of thing. The realism of Red Dwarf. Anyway, today's show is a bit of a different one, unless you were any of the people from Horror Amino who came over and... Why am I speaking like that all of a sudden? What fucking accent is that? I just changed race there in the middle of...
Fucking out-of-body experience.
See how far that ran. So.
Suddenly I was there talking like I'm fucking Swedish. Anyway... Anyway... Sorry, myself and Buzz are just super hyper because we used to do a show for any of the Amino people who used to come over called the GC Files, where we used to do all of the aliens and conspiracy theories and things like that. And then too many shows broke Johnny. He says
it was a budget cut.
Yeah, there was a budget cut. Although I'm probably just the GC Files was its own channel, and now I seem to have just over the course of 18 months slowly been merging all of the other shows that I was trying to do into one large channel one super channel of weirdness. So today There was a documentary that came out a couple of weeks ago on Discovery called Roswell: The Final Verdict, where they very interestingly went through a load of interviews over the course of the Roswell conspiracy that were taken back from 47 up until the early 90s, when most of the people that would have been around the actual incident died, and got a load of the declassified interviews that they had done. And now that it's in modern time, where they have this very high-tech AI facial recognition software that's also a lie detector, because it's able to pick up on the micro ticks and micro movements of your face and go, are you talking bullshit or not? And Jesus fucking H Christ, did it turn out that a lot of people were not talking bullshit? 95% even part of that 5% is people where it was like one little bit of their story they probably over embellish on a little bit. Do you know what I mean? But
that's one of the things I'll talk about later on that I was kind of like, all right, I guess I could say now, that I wouldn't say like I had an issue with it, but it was like, it was false. And they're just like, well, I'm pretty sure what they said was true, but some of the stuff was, they either tried to protect somebody or... I'm like, okay, well,
no,
yeah, I guess.
No, because I have 30...
We both know exactly who he's talking about.
Because I have 38 pages of notes taken for this. The one particular thing that you said about the thing with the girl was
I do.
Glenn
Davis.
Protecting a potential relationship.
Well, not just the relationship, but you can tell by what he said later on as well that the nurse that he was speaking to pretty much swore him to secrecy. So the little bit that he got caught on lying in his statement, very believable that it was just him making up a bit of a fake story at the beginning
to hide the fact that he was probably there to see her in the first place anyway.
Yeah, well, to cover who the fuck he was talking to anyway, number one. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And there was one other one that they mentioned where 95% of his statement was true, and the other part, which we'll get into.
He was the kids.
Yeah, the young boy. So look, he's a fucking 5-year-old. Do you know what I mean? 5-year-olds will add things onto a story. Do you know what I mean?
Or just think he saw something.
Or he just thought, well, no, because myself and Pam were discussing this.
Because if that was the case, it wouldn't have read.
If he genuinely thought that's what he saw, he would have come across as true.
Yeah.
One would assume.
Because that's what
he thinks. Is that from your room?
The banging sound?
Yeah.
Somewhere in my vicinity, I think.
That's weird. I thought that was from my house.
They're already trying to get us off the air, guys.
Okay.
Did anyone else think it was from their house? Because just,
we're going to start disappearing.
So we're going to have a slightly, I suppose before we get fully into the show, we'll hit the chat for a minute. We're going. I'll finish explaining. It's going to be a slightly different format to the show as well, because instead of lots of trailers and things like that, which is customarily what the group chat Thursdays are, because we're usually reviewing an abundance of movies or TV episodes or things like that. It's going to be mostly a live Google window. It's going to be mostly a live Google window. Who's cooking hot dogs? What's going on? What am I missing?
Rochi figures the bang was the soul that I consumed earlier trying to escape.
Yeah.
They never escape.
We say, look, I know kids long enough. We say soul. It's mostly the word victim, isn't it? It's not soul, is it? It's the victim that he captured earlier trying to escape.
Anyway, you were saying?
Or as kids likes to call him, a new cuddle buddy. Have you met my new cuddle buddy, Marion?
Nobody meets them.
Oh, Marion, you seem so... Actually, reminds me of that bit from Auntie Donna where Homelander's in it. I picked up a... Remember when he picks up a stray guy? I picked up a stray guy when I was at the park. He picked up a what? And it's your man that plays Homelander in Auntie Donna. It's pretty. He's like, do you want a bowl? Like, he literally treats him like a little dog. He's like, do you want a bowl of kibble, boy? Or whatever. Your man comes over and he's like, you got to get me out of here. I've been here for 3 days. I can't get out. The other guy gives out to him. He's like, I don't mean to shock you, but your stray man came over and tried to attack me. He was all like, rah, or whatever. And then they essentially put him down and they neutered him. That was an interesting story. Anyway, yeah, hit the... I can't remember how I got onto that. Hit the chat before we go into all of this notes and it gets all serious and things like that. Right, howdy Pam, hey Katie. I'm assuming... Oh no, wait, Jesus Christ. Carter, you've been kind of keeping an eye on the chat the whole way down. Is there a particular point I should pick up from?
No. Bill thought the thump in Giz's room was the George Foreman hitting the wall. Rochi's got the whole. Rochi says well-known fact that gingers get a freckle for every soul they consume.
Yep.
It's bullshit. Gingers have souls.
And
They belong to everybody else.
Cinema Reaper said that he actually just got a book recently called Aliens from Space, written by Major Donald Kehoe. That was written in the 1970s. Have not read the book yet, but I hope to find a correlation between the book.
Right. Okay, good stuff. That was good, because I'd gone all the way back up to the top, and I was like, okay, I see a lot of Pokemon chat going on. Don't want to be doing that.
There's more to what he said. It said between the book and the release footage released by the U.S. government.
Nice. Excellent. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, so, so I suppose we'll take it away with...
Dive right in there.
Yeah. What way do you want to do this? Do you just want to talk about people first, or do you want to kind of go through it episodically? I won't lie to you, not trying to toot my own horn here. I have notes assorted for both ways. So...
I think the best thing...
The variety, I won't lie to you, the options are fucking endless right now, people.
I think the best thing, Mr. Over-Prepared, would be
Excuse
to
me.
take the lead. And
Outside of horror movies, this is the only other topic that I'm literally like...
It's good that he's over-prepared, because I think the rest of us are probably under-prepared. So
I also had a funny feeling.
No, Buzz, you don't understand. I don't have notes because I know this shit because I've been into this shit my entire fucking life. I don't have the names that Johnny has. I don't have the specific quotes that Johnny has. But all the details of this I've known for a very long time. It's just gratifying to finally be in a position whereby I can turn around to people and go fuck yourself. I was right the whole fucking time. Fuck you. There's the proof.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's a lot of other people that feel the exact same way.
And customarily, that's how I would have been as well. But then once I got all of the evidence that backed up the fact that everything I've been saying for years wasn't bullshit, I started writing it all down so I could be like, you fuckers. Look at it.
It's in writing.
Ben Hansen. Talk to Ben Hansen. That's one thing I learned from this and other documentaries I was watching that we were supposed to do on the show tonight, is that if you need any info, talk to Ben Hansen.
He's got his finger on the pulse.
No, he got his hands on the blue book.
Well, I won't lie to you. What I liked about the Uncovering Aliens series that he was doing was that it's or was it Uncovering Aliens? I can't remember the name of it now.
UFO Witness.
UFO Witness. He doesn't like sensationalize anything. Do you know what I mean? He takes every bit of fact that he's given as facts and goes investigates the facts to turn them from he doesn't take them as facts. He takes them as statements, and he goes and corroborates everything. Do you mean? As I said, my favorite bit was where your man was trying to... it did turn out that the real-life flares didn't match the red lights in the sky. Anyway, but I loved when your man was like, no, like, it couldn't have been a flare, and Ben Hansen's on the beach, and he's like, oh, lie to you. It probably, it could have been a flare. And he's like, no, I'm telling you, man, it's not a flare. And Ben Hansen's basically like, how about we just fire some flares up there, and we'll just see,
We'll figure it out.
we go get... Because, flares... not that hard to get, I assume. Why don't we go fire some flares up there? But then in the guy's defense of not being a fucking nut job, the flares didn't do the same sort of...
The flares kind of like, yeah, you're right, it couldn't have been flares.
Yeah, but I like the fact that where you see a lot of some of these alien documentary guys, and it's nearly like those ghost hunter shows. Do you mean where it's like, oh my god, yeah, it's definitely a fucking alien? Is it though?
There's one or two people. Okay. The Roswell, the final verdict, the show that we're actually reviewing this week, like we said, it takes a look at a lot of interviews and stuff, many of which those of us who are into this kind of thing would have seen over the years pop up in things like Unsolved Mysteries and other investigative programs looking into UFOs, alien abductions, this kind of thing. So as a result, it means that you can sit down and watch this and kind of go, oh, I remember seeing this. And because of the process they're putting them through, you're no longer sitting down going, I wonder if they're making this up or not. Instead, you're sitting down going, it's good to know that I'm not an idiot for believing them when they're telling me these things, when all these different people have the same story from different points of view being verified through this.
It's also their information the outlet that it's coming through this time is slightly different to the outlet that they've had to speak through over the years. Like, don't get me wrong, like say you and I were talking earlier where there was definitely one or two of them that you were like, oh, you remember them popping up on Unsolved Mysteries or something like that, where, don't get me wrong, Unsolved Mysteries have done a lot of good for it in relation to occasionally they have actually helped find a serial killer or something like that, where we know if it came down the line. But there was also the odd episode, you know, where something was a little... There was a couple episodes in Unsolved Mysteries you're like, okay, well, you know, you can't have real stuff all the time. I suppose you need to have a little bit of filler to flesh it out, kind of thing.
Well,
that maybe fluff some of the actual evidence to make it presentable.
As I said, this goes to something that I'm only going to... I'll bring this up once and then I'll leave it again.
I
right?
absolutely love how I said, let's not bother bringing that up, and within 5 minutes. Go for it. Yeah, it has to do with Star Trek.
No, it has to do with Unsolved Mysteries, actually.
Okay.
But it was posited in a sci-fi show that if somebody created a show that's fictitious about stuff that's actually happening, it helps to discredit. With that in mind,
yes,
if you allow Unsolved Mysteries to go out and you allow it to be perceived with the mindset that you just said there,
yes,
the idea that we catch serial killers, we catch murderers, and sometimes we have something that's a little bit, because that's how the public intends it to be, or that's how people want the public to be taken.
The Unsolved Mysteries equivalent of a fluff piece would be the best way I could describe it. Do you know what I mean?
Except that it wasn't.
Yeah.
No, but it wasn't. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
But my point is that perception was intentionally allowed to occur for the sake of plausible deniability.
100%.
Has filtered through media and TV shows and a lot of stuff for decades.
What's his name? General. 1 minute now.
The guy that ordered the story shut down after Marshall came out?
Yeah. 1 minute. Too many pages. And also the real sexy lighting that I do for the show, while it does look good on camera, I just realised makes it quite difficult to read.
Just make sure you keep a tight grip on your notes, bro.
That dog's not getting in. It's not happening. It's okay. And I won't lie to you. One of the reasons that I...
Alien!
Umbaku! Hello, my adorable family. Oh, good. There's a dog penis behind my head. Awesome.
Oh. I don't know why I laughed like that.
It's a good thing that I use the notes so they go into my memory anyway. That's the whole point of me writing them down. So anyway, if memory serves me correctly, General Ramsey is the guy's name, who, while he was on a radio station where essentially the radio presenter calls him out, and it's kind of like, okay, well, if this weather balloon thing's what's going on, what's the story with not only this reported incident of UFOs, but several other reported incidents, pretty much one from every state around the place. And he went,
except Ohio.
No, except Kansas.
I thought it was Ohio because Ohio was a dry state.
No, it's not Ohio. Oh, I don't know. Ohio isn't a dry state.
The whole point is that whichever state didn't have them, he turned around and went, except for that one.
Yeah,
because that's
he basically went.
Basically
implying there's a bunch of drunken hillbillies that are fucking reporting all the UFOs. Do you mean? And it was the same way that a lot of the cool, which it did turn out to be literal, bona fide, genuine info. Thank you, baby cakes. I appreciate that. Cheers. The whole point of some of these really, really genuinely true stories being put through on shows and things like that, and Unsolved Mysteries, is so that people would automatically take it with a pinch of salt. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And as we find out as we're going to be going through this, dude, no offense to you two, the American contingent of the show, but I have to say it's an absolute fucking disgrace how your government treated its own people. I know it's everybody's government do that, but
No, I totally fucking agree, dude.
Kabakufa.
Okay, but hang on. Buzz was shocked and surprised by the lengths that they went to. I was not, because I remember things like half hangings. I remember barbed wire being used as you're hung by barbed wire to answer questions.
Yes.
You get the shit kicked out of you and dropped into a street just because you're suspected of doing stuff.
Yes. But it's different hearing the stories and then having the stories corroborated by a fucking truth-telling robot that makes sure that everything is fact. Do you know what I mean? And it's just...
Because there's that thing of like, you in the back of your mind, you're like, man, oh, that shit didn't really happen. And then have this fucking AI go, huh, it happened, motherfucker.
Yeah. Oh, they fucked him right up the A.
It's that final nail in the coffin kind of thing.
At the end of the day, historically speaking, and I don't mean just like alien conspiracies or things like this, historically speaking, whenever needed, the governments of the world will do whatever they need to do to ensure that they keep whatever secrets need to be kept or they retain whatever power needs to be kept. And as long as they're able to operate discreetly, or at the very least, they're able to discredit anybody that would raise any kind of awareness of these situations, they're going to continue to do it. Now, America doing it is, and the way that they're doing it, they're just one of those countries that happen to be at the forefront in regards misinformation and, kind of discrediting people who have come out with stuff. I mean, we've seen it in things that aren't as, topical as aliens. We've seen your man, that whistleblower, Snowden, was it?
Yeah, Edward Snowden.
The stuff that happened to him, all because he turned around and said, this is what our government is doing. And once again, historically speaking, this isn't stuff that's happening in the last decade. This isn't stuff that's happening in the last 2 decades.
I'm just bringing up a quick image there of General. I'm just bringing up a quick image of General Ramsey there, so people know what that, or Ramey, should I say, so people know what he fucking looks like.
But it's the difference between, like you hear something horrid, and part of you wants to be able to go on to the fact that maybe this isn't true. Maybe our government wouldn't do this to us. Maybe our government wouldn't do this to one of our own. And then when you have an actual, solidified proof that they did do this, it's just that fear. Like, you're like, holy shit, this is real. What's the difference?
And you think about it.
I mean, the difference with someone like the difference with someone like Edward Snowden, for instance, right, and Mac Brazel, Mac Brazel, and the Sergeant Marcel as well. Jesse Marcel is his name. The difference with those guys and Edward Snowden is Edward Snowden, while technically doing a good thing, did essentially take government secrets and leak them to the public. Brazel especially literally did what a good citizen is supposed to do and stumbled upon a strange incident and went to the sheriff first, and when the sheriff went, you're going to have to ring the fucking Boys in Green, because I have a deal with the Boys in Green. Anything aeronautical that goes weird around here, they go check it out. He literally did what a good citizen is supposed to do, and Jesse Marcel literally did what a good person in his field of expertise was supposed to do, and what he thought he was supposed to be doing out there, and went out and reported it and took notes and brought the whole thing in. And then Brazel gets locked up in a cell for 5 days, tortured, deprived of sleep, and they essentially brainwash the guy into telling an entirely different story. And Jesse Marcel is made look like an incompetent fucking idiot because he's a tech analyst and weather analyst and stuff like that, and mistakes a basic weather balloon for a bunch of alien material.
Now,
it's
right.
two different
You're
things,
absolutely
if you
right.
know what I mean.
Hang on. No, you're right. However, there have been cases where people have done the right thing for the right reason, and because all of those things went against the government, doesn't matter the government, they get the exact same treatment. Now, you're right. Snowden went out of his way, but I don't know the names of anyone else that stumbled upon stuff, thought they were innocently doing the right thing, and had it bite them in the ass. But we all know these people exist. This stuff has happened and continues to happen. And like you said, it is the exact same as that farmer, Mac Brazel, who thought legitimately what he was doing was a benefit to his people, that he was doing exactly what a good citizen should be doing. And as a result, he ended up getting fracked over for it because the people in power needed a secret kept. And more importantly, they needed anyone that knew this secret to be looked at in a certain way, to be shunned, to be discredited, to be thought of as crazy, to be thought of as absolutely ludicrous, anything that could come out of their mouth, or that they're just making the crap up. By having Mac Brazel turn around and recant his statement,
Mac
it
Brazel.
means that, sorry, Mac Brazel, used to know a guy named Mark Brazel.
Yeah,
But,
dude, there's so many times in the notes he's written down as Mark Brazel as well.
But by having him do that, it means that no matter what comes out afterwards, including the interview that we never got to hear, the one that the lads in the radio
How'd you spell
station
his
had.
name again? Is it Brasel, isn't it?
Isle, I think. But anyway, by having him recount the statement, it means that even if people find that interview, or even if people talk to him afterwards, there's always going to be the stigma of doubt over what the truth really was, because he had then turned around. Now, the only saving grace is at the end of it, when your man in the news station turns around and went, that's completely different to what you said before. What about the little green men? And he turned around and went, they weren't green, and left it at that and left.
He said, yeah, except they weren't green.
Yeah, that little indication is like the whole point is that I have to say this and you have to let me, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
But we both know that this isn't the real deal.
Honestly, I think what happened there was the guy was so fucking broken and just trained into respond and talk. Your man just went, what about the aliens? He's like, yeah, except they were green. Okay, but there's no aliens. Just clarify.
And see, Cinema Reaper was like, hey, they will silence anyone who could cause a worldwide panic.
Yep.
And that was back then, like, that's their fear. They didn't want shit getting out because it was like, either they're still trying to figure it out or they were afraid of a mass panic.
Especially,
so let us figure it out and then we'll let the fucking general world.
Especially around that time period, because we're just, not freshly, but just recently coming off of World War II, there's already people on edge.
Sorry, which?
What? No, I go on, Buzz. I actually thought you were going to say something else, but go on, say what you're saying.
No, but yeah, because you're saying, like, the mass panic thing is like with us coming just freshly off of World War II around this time, people, I don't want to say tensions were starting to kind of, and then, getting into the Cold War and all that stuff like that, like tensions weren't really, I don't want to say they're starting to ease down. So then stuff starts getting all over the place. Then, those tensions and that may have been starting to go down a little bit might start going back up because now we have a whole new threat. And so, obviously it makes sense why, and like how quickly too, because it's like it went from, take this to the news reporter and have this broadcast over the thing. And then, like, it seemed like they just kept missing the guys by, like, 2 seconds. Like, go stop that guy. And it's like, as soon as, like, they're just, like, 2 seconds behind from getting this information out, where if they were on top of it even sooner, who knows? We wouldn't be talking about it.
Okay. So I just had an interesting thought, right? And, Johnny, you back me up on this, okay?
Okay. And then can we maybe start going through the TV series as intended?
Okay. But
we're jumping all over the place. There's a story to be told.
I know,
but, okay.
Bear with me.
Okay.
We watched a film recently. I can't remember what it was, but it was made in the 70s, and one of the actors at the time, there was a panic or something, and one of the actors made reference to, it was just like when George Orwell did War of the Worlds. No one knew what was going on, and we actually thought that something was happening. So, with that in mind, right, that would have still, my point being, that film was made in the 70s and you had somebody referencing it thinking it was real. These events are happening in 47. So that would have been within memory still. So people in power would have gone, Jesus, do you remember that time someone faked this and everyone panicked and thought it was real?
Right.
What if it's actually real? We don't actually know what's going on. The story's out. Shit, we need to turn it into crap before we get that again or something similar.
Or worse.
I would imagine, and I'm just throwing this out there, going by the narrative of George Orwell's War of the Worlds, that eventually some news would have probably come out because there was some rather large alien beings attacking an actual physical city.
Yeah, I know.
I feel the real news would have probably got there eventually.
What, if it was an actual attack?
Well, yes, because there would be real news people in the town of said aliens going buck shit.
It'd be actual destruction.
Even just the vague memory of when someone did this as a gag, basically, people panicked. We have an actual situation, not to that level, but we have an actual situation. If word gets out, people will panic for real again, and this time it's real. It's not a fucking story, it's real. We need to get on it. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if that was, stupid as that sounds,
their mindset.
an example of the worst case scenario. You know,
Yeah.
we had a story that gave us the worst case scenario in reality because people thought it was real. Now we have something that is real. What happens if we can't control this? Because we don't know what it is. Frack, get on it.
Okay, we'll bounce back in the chat for a sec before we start moving on. Right.
I
so-
actually kind of liked. There's a spot where.
Yeah, I'm picking
it
up
was
from
Rochi.
Rochi talking about the CIA, is it?
No, it was go ahead and pick your spot. It was about the Snowden part.
Oh,
Where
I
it
was
he
going
only.
to just up a little bit above that.
Oh, okay, cool, cool.
Okay, Rochi said, and the CIA testing LSD on the general public. That's 100% documented. Jesus and bollocks after that. Dancing with the dog. Well, he's a large, muscular mammal, Pam. So that's to be expected. Bill congratulating on distracting me. That was good. Cinema Reaper. They will silence anyone who could cause worldwide panic. That's completely true. Snowden has said it himself. He only leaked some of the stuff they were doing to their citizens. He also said he didn't leak sensitive secret stuff, which makes you think, what the fuck are they doing behind closed doors? Oh yeah, 100%.
Right. Oh, dude. I mean, like,
100%.
when you realize that, that's even fucking scarier that he was like, hey, here's the cookies part. You don't really want to see the rest of it.
Yeah. 100%. Bree's phone is evidently causing a small palm fire, so she's going to let... Sorry, hang on a moment, because this is actually an area of expertise that I'm in. Let it cool off and I'll hop back on after it's cooler or something. It's going through my case. That's sour or bad, is it? Yes, if it's getting that hot through your case, it's quite bad, Bree. I would suggest stopping and restarting your phone and making sure that all of the several million apps that you possibly may have open, because it's the only solution I can think of off the top of my head right now, are closed. And then give your phone a little cool down time. Or pop a chair in front of your fridge, shove the phone in the fridge and keep on watching. That's another thing you can do. Only the right hand... sorry. Rochi said, and only right he did, the man should be given a damn medal. Yeah, damn right, Rochi, I agree with, the stuff that he let people know in relation to how much they're literally just watching what the fuck you were doing at every second. They're watching us right now.
Yeah, Bill was saying that...
By the way,
they said
government,
directly
I like the way you're
implied-
watching us right now. You won't give us the fucking view. Give us the fucking view. If you're going to watch, just give us the fucking view.
Bill said,
Anywho.
well, it wasn't said directly. He implied that people disappeared who got involved with stuff they shouldn't have.
Yeah, well, this refers back to the stuff that you were talking about earlier of just, no duh. You know?
Yeah.
Like, you see, here's the thing though, like, the Roswell stuff was one of the big cases where it was like, oh, we don't give a shit if you're an American citizen, if you're one of our own military, if you're a member of the press, don't give a monkeys. I'm coming up to you with a baseball bat and explaining it's really for the best benefit of you and your family to just shut the fuck up and do what you're told.
We'll do what we want, or we'll just completely burn your fucking life apart.
Yeah, and as we go through the
I
stuff, you're going to
like
see
the lines
how
of
they murder some
they'll be
people's lives.
finding your bones in the desert.
Yeah, that was a consistent line, which I found strange. Like that, there were several people in relation to different accounts that had that exact same statement said to them.
Which leads me to believe that one's definitely true, because you know yourself, man, when you're in the habit of saying something,
and it's all coming from that ginger. It's weird how I said about the government give us the view, and then 3 people just logged out.
Seriously, guys, if you're here, you might as well stick around.
Right?
Yeah.
I'd
imagine, and I'm not giving out, I'd imagine they're here and they're like, oh, but look, they're never even going to get on to talking about the alien stuff properly. It'll be all right, don't worry about it. And now 2 of them logged back in.
I sense these guys get sidetracked.
Yeah. They did warn us in the
I do
description.
like, Cinema Reaper said there's an actual story I heard that in North Jersey, people knocked down a water tower after hearing War of the Worlds on the radio, thinking it was the water tower was a tripod.
Yeah.
People are fucking thick sometimes, Cinema Reaper.
And I mean, like, that's the thing, like, that's where it's that whole, like, you kind of have to cover it up because people just can't handle shit. They're going to lose their fucking minds.
Well, that's a
But
very
the way-
fair that's a fair assessment, because people literally attacked something that they had seen a million fucking times
Right.
before. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
it's obviously the alien robot, or it's obviously the fucking water tower
been
you've
here
been
the
looking at
whole
for the last
time.
20 years. How long have you been living here? That water tower has literally been here the whole fucking time.
You know, I mean, like, we've seen in so many Twilight episodes with just a little pressure, People breaking.
Rochi, we will be very much getting into several of the people that they publicly discredited and slated. Now, I suppose. Yeah. Buzz, also do keep an eye out for any video clips or something that we might be able to take an actual interlude with. If there's a news bit or anything like that you can think of.
One thing I was kind of seeing was there's some interviews with what's his name? I forgot the guy that was on both shows that we were talking about.
Ben Hansen.
Yeah, he does like an interview, like in like a morning news interview about the series. I don't know if that's something maybe you want to throw on or you want
no.
to
If you could find any of the video clips of the actual people. If that's around, if possible, that would be cool. But otherwise, I can find one of those because he's on a couple of morning shows talking about the because the thing came out roughly around the time that all of the alien documentary stuff got declassified by the Pentagon. Because they had him on talking about that and the release of the new show. Night, Katie. I will talk to you later on.
See you, Katie. Good luck in the meeting tomorrow.
Right. Right. So. Not Mac Miller. That's definitely not who I'm looking for. Good musician, don't get me wrong. Mac, B-R-A-Z-E-L.
Oh, Jesus, fuck.
Mac Brazel. There we go. That's the guy. Right.
It looks like they have a lot of the interviews that they showed through the thing all compiled into one big video. It's like an hour and a half long. The same exact.
I would say that, and I'm just going to throw it out there, I would say that that's probably too long of a clip.
Well, yes.
Just going to throw it out there really, really quick. I'll tell you what, I might actually have to because this Google thing isn't working for the pictures. Or, how big is this one? I thought I could just open them in new tabs, but they come up as tiny little pics. Unless is there a zoom in button? Hang on a moment. We'll resolve this issue and then we'll be able to move on post haste. Nope, downloading them it is. Okay, cool. Good to know. Good to know. Do you think I should go? We'll go. No, that's Jesse Marcel. I'm not looking for you. God damn. Oh, thank God I've seen so much video footage of these motherfuckers by now, or otherwise I'd be like completely like. Right, we'll download that. No, we'll download that one because it's not. Save image as. Okay, cool. And then we put you in the right you won't show up on the thing. Anyway, I can talk and try and find a photo of this dude as we go through. So, as anyone who's into their UFOs and stuff know, 1947, July 3rd, Mac Brazel was out and he was having a toddle around. He's kind of a rancher, kind of cowboy guy from Roswell, New Mexico. And he finds an abundance of strange-looking debris out in the desert. Strange-looking debris that, upon assessing it with all of his knowledge of, metal and things like that, being a rancher, knowing how to weld things and stuff, was sort of a substance that he'd never seen before, and it didn't act like any sort of alloy that we'd seen on the planet because it was essentially flexible. You could crumple it up in your hand and it would go back and retain its shape. You could bash it with a hammer and it would go back and retain its shape. You couldn't rip it, you couldn't cut it, you couldn't cause any dint or damage to this stuff whatsoever. And on top of it being that,
like crashing will fuck it up.
Yeah, well, I would imagine it's an interesting thing that we'll get into as we get when we kind of get into our thoughts and stuff near the end of the show. But I would imagine the fact that there's essentially two crash sites with two separate ships is the reason that,
or it's debris from the because they're saying that it's a mid-air explosion caused the debris field.
Yeah.
So what if that's a section that's blown off? That's debris from that, and then the second site is the main ship.
A lot of debris for just a section of a ship, though.
Yeah. We can see like we don't know how much of it, like how much.
I was gonna say, did we ever know, like, was intact? I mean, we never actually knew the size of it before it popped.
You would take a look at the size of the ship that's just kind of broken and work from the size of the chunk missing.
Yeah, they say it's about. They were describing the ship as being about 35 feet in diameter or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I missed that part. Then.
And the other guy was talking,
think they actually
and
gave
Mac
a
Brazel
size.
was talking about what surprised him was the sheer amount of debris at his site that he was at, which was Site 1. And Site 2 is the one where the actual, for lack of a better description, semi-intact ship was.
Bill said, "What if it wasn't debris but an escape pod?" I'm assuming for the second site.
Well, then it went. Oh, you mean as in? Oh, yes. I get what you're saying. As in the. Oh, okay. Yeah. So as
So
in,
like it popped here, but maybe that was.
yeah. So the actual recovered, the recovered semi-non-affected ship is in fact an escape pod, and the debris is the exploded
The
actual
actual-
ship.
Yeah.
That would make a fuck ton of sense.
Actually, there's. Or no, it's never mind for a different thing. What?
Well, oh, sorry, I'm reading a message. Sorry.
I thought he like it was like
No.
froze or something. Like that.
Sorry, I went into system reboot there. It happens occasionally. Have you tried turning your Johnny off and on again? Okay, cool, perfect.
Yeah. And you smack him in the back.
Gick. Let's get going. Okay, cool. Okay, we'll just download this picture, I suppose. No.
So I was looking for videos, and everything that I've seen so far on YouTube is like full interviews. Nothing
Okay.
broken. Nothing really broken down into anything that's like 2 or 3 minutes. Solid 41 minutes, hour and a half.
No problemo, my guy. I will figure something out.
The only thing I saw that's short is they do have the intro to the series that's like a minute or something that kind of shows little bits of like the interviews and kind of gives you the synopsis.
Yeah, we might run that later
I'll
on.
pull it up.
Yeah, just send the link in the Facebook page if that's okay. Or in the Facebook chat, should I say?
So
I
Archie
got
said,
you.
man-made materials can do that nowadays. Structural memory is built into stuff. And I don't know. I've kind of always liked the whole like Men in Black, where it was like, oh yeah, we did the DVD player. Like, you
Yeah,
think where's the possibility that we got some of the tech that we do?
The thing there, Bill, is that you use the appropriate word. Is that now they have materials that can retain shape and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Reverse engineered.
Yeah, this is back in 1947. Do you know what I mean? So they've had 73
No.
years. They've had 73 years odd to reverse engineer the stuff to be like, okay, so that's how that one. That's how that one goes. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, there's that. What's the name of the?
But no, I just thought that, like I said, it just Rosie pointed that out, and I kind of, like I said, I kind of go back to the old MIB days where it's that whole like we've slowly advanced our own ways by reverse engineering other shit that's landed here or crashed here.
Well, it's interesting to think that the space program didn't get started till like 15, 20 years after Roswell. No, it was 10 years after Roswell or something that the US space program started up, and then it was 65 that he landed on the moon, or am I getting that wrong? But like the prevailing theory is that much of the American space program came from reverse engineering alien spacecraft, and the idea that there was
Bob
actually a
Lazar.
point
Sorry,
in...
that was the name of the guy, Bob Lazar, who had the documentary out recently.
Yeah.
Where like he's essentially, he was like, I never got to see an alien or something. He was like, I think I saw something. He said, all I'm willing to say is I think I saw something through a door sometime. But he essentially was working at what would be best
Area
described as
51.
area. No. He was at Area 52.
Yeah, 52.
He's at Area 52, which is where they have you doing. He was essentially given sections of spaceship to try and reverse engineer. He was the first guy to make a land-based rocket. He made that rocket car that broke the land speed record before, and then these guys nabbed him up and were like, okay, we need you to reverse engineer this, essentially. And he said it's essentially a spaceship, was what I was told to reverse engineer.
It gives.
None of us worked on anything in an entirety. We were all given certain bits of a thing to reverse engineer, but he said when we all started chatting and you started adding it all up as to what would that do and where would that connect to the bit that you were working on and the thing, they were like, okay, spaceship.
Yes.
Yeah,
NASA was formed in '58, and our first person went up in '61.
Yeah, which it's funny, isn't it, that it's like within 20 years of not finding an alien spacecraft. Because there was no attempt. No one was fucking even trying to go to space at that stage. There was no space race. Back in 47, America didn't even give a fuck. They were just like, sun does that, moon does that, and then there's some stars and shit.
Right.
Any kind of advances in those areas were specifically aimed originally at weapons development, because we have to go back to what the Germans were working on. And they were working on missile systems and rocket and jet propulsion technology that scared the bejesus out of the Americans once they figured it out. There was, it's weird, but if you look at the first Captain America movie, a lot of the vehicles that Hydra had, that massive V-shaped plane at the end of it especially, those were actually taken from basically designs that the Germans had that they were working on. I remember seeing a model of the massive tank that's in Captain America and of that V years before those films came out, because they were based on proposed designs that the Nazis were supposedly working on at the time. So with that in mind, like any kind of advances that were being made, they weren't looking upwards. They were looking basically at how do we get our shit to another country as quickly and destructively as possible. And all of a sudden the idea that maybe we might need to look upwards, and it's less a race for weapons, and it's less a race for missiles, and more a race of the first person out there gets to lay claim to what's out there, and more importantly, gets to have a conversation with who's out there. Because what if the whole reason that all of a sudden Roswell happened, and because there was a lot of other sightings in the 40s around the same time, this is just the big crash. People kind of ignore the fact, and once again, going back to that fucking DS9 episode, because they do bring it up, they were testing nuclear weapons out there for years.
Yeah, that's what it was there for, was a nuclear testing site. That's the home of the Manhattan Project and the Green Hornets, who were the boys that were literally...
Yeah, and there has been other things that have proposed the idea that the testing of nuclear weapons in those areas was the call sign to anyone watching this world that, hey, humanity's reached this level. You might want to check in and have a look.
Might even just be that. It might be a whole case of, I mean, there's obviously some sort of nuclear propulsion to some degree involved in space travel. Do you know what I mean? So maybe it was like they were just reading signatures and they were like, okay, these people seem to be at the same level we're at. And then it was just kind of like, oh no, they're trying to blow each other up with it instead of actually trying to fly into fucking space. You know, if you just tweak the thing, if you just tighten the combobulator and put some fucking wings on that thing, you got yourself a rocket, asshole.
Look, whether or not they came down because they were worried about us killing ourselves, or more importantly, firing something up that could do damage to them, the point is that I think nuclear weaponry being developed and more importantly tested so often in that area is the reason why there was reports of UFO activity, and perhaps even the reason why eventually something crashed. What if they ran into something they weren't expecting? Fuck, there's too much radiation here. Mad bastard fucking humans, our systems are screwing up. Shit, we're going down. Or shit, it's about to fucking blow because this area is far more irradiated than we expected because these humans are mad bastards. We need to
Rochi actually
have a chat with them.
I'm going to pull this up really quick because Rochi actually sent me a photo of the German...
And while you're looking that up,
fighter planes you were speaking of.
He was saying that Bob Lasser said that they did reverse engineer an engine, but they couldn't replicate the fuel element because it didn't naturally occur on Earth.
Yeah,
because it was the element 115. Because
the element 115 was something that Bob. Yeah, the element 115. That was when my computer wouldn't let us do podcasts anymore.
Yeah.
The element 115 essentially was this element that Bob Lazar was reporting, having been trying to figure out how it worked and had been reporting essentially what the properties were and stuff like that. But then the government, that man has had a rough time with the government trying to shut his shit down as much as is humanly possible. Yeah, well they wiped Well, they made it look like they'd wiped him off the face of existence.
Well,
He
they
had
said
no-
yeah, 'cause that
He had no
That got
social.
into
His social
yeah.
security number was wiped. They said he never.
Shit.
there was no records of him going to
Yeah,
the
all
colleges
yeah.
and shit that he said that he went to.
Yeah, all of the.
That
Lo- all
was
of the-
supposed to be our
all of the logs.
third episode.
All of the logs for him going in and out of Area 52 were wiped and everything.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the fact that he was able to get, he got a college professor and some other student from the college to go, sorry, not just a student, he's a literal roommate on the college that was like, he was like, if he wasn't going to the college, he did a good fucking job at making me think he was going to the college. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the professor testified that he was there, and then there was an employee at the Area 52 place that unidentified, as in, like, you know, they said it in privacy, as in they went on
I don't
record
want to
saying
follow
it,
in
but
his
not as.
footsteps, but he was there.
Yeah, well, they went on record, but they didn't disclose their name. But they were like, no, 100% he was working
Yeah,
there.
'cause that was a couple
We-
years ago.
I think they used to carpool to work together.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't think he actually had a car. I think I remember him like riding his bike
Yeah.
to like work and all that stuff all the time.
So
he
your man,
carpool every once
yeah,
in a
your man
while.
used to drive him to work occasionally and stuff like that. And same as the guy
Yeah.
from the college, he was kind of like, I'll tell you what,
'Cause
man,
we-
if he didn't work there, he sure fucking did a good job of making me think he worked there. 'Cause-
That was supposed to be the third episode of the DC Files, as we were supposed to do that documentary, the Netflix, and I think he was recently on at the same time with Joe Rogan, where
Yes.
he did the podcast with Joe Rogan.
it was, yeah,
A lot
documentary
of
came out.
stuff.
Oh yeah, like realistically, that's
Fascinating.
where a lot of this shit started really taking a snowball in recent years, where people started listening up. Like, I know there was a big contingent of people that were like, I 100% believe all of this stuff, but Bob Lazar came out because there was a lot of stuff. The government had fucked up in relation to Bob Lazar because they had done such a shit job at wiping him off the face of the planet that all it did was give a load of evidence, because essentially you're kind of like, before he even started dropping truth bombs, you were kind of like, so if what he's saying is such bullshit, why are
did you go
you
to such
trying to
extremes?
discredit him so much and literally threaten the guy on a regular
And the
basis?
funny thing is, originally when he started dropping the stuff, I think this is like years before he like pretty much spilled everything and came out and publicly identified himself. He was actually going like incognito when he did like the news, like from like the early '90s or something, when he first started talking about it. He would like be like that, like witness protection type thing, the voice, you know, the shadow, and he didn't give his real name. And then eventually he was like, well, they're trying to fucking erase me anyway, so I might as well
Yeah, well,
just drop the
essentially
fuck.
his logic was, they're literally showing up on my fucking doorstep and harassing myself and my wife on an extra
Yeah.
regular basis anyway, so I might as well just fucking go out.
Like, they know who I am, so
Like, they were
it's not
trying to
like
do,
I need to
they
hide
were,
myself.
they were trying to do him for treason and everything because he had smuggled some of that element 115
Oh, yeah.
out of the lab. Because that was
He
the
had a
issue with the
FBI
element
raid.
115 was he wasn't just talking about it; he had a sample. That he was
Yeah,
like, you can
FBI raid
go
at
fucking
his
test it if
house,
you want and tell
like-
me if you can figure out what it is, because it's not
Yeah.
from Earth, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that straight out.
The FBI. I think it was actually during the documentary. Like the FBI, like raided. They were like in production of making the documentary. He called up the producers, like, yeah, they like FBI raided my house last night or this morning.
Yeah.
So they
Looking
were
for any-
going above and beyond.
Looking for any evidence of what they could find out. He told the guy on the interviews and everything. And the documentary nearly didn't happen over that because he was like fucking, it's been a while since they've come in and kicked in my fucking front door. And it was literally just a little reminder to him. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what it, like, the whole point of that was, they knew they weren't going to find anything there. The whole point was to just remind you,
We're here.
always watching. Anytime, you can just come in that fucking front door and wreck your shit.
And the thing is,
See,
getting back to the original point, these are the tactics that were first used. Those strong arm tactics. Those, as I say, amateurish if you look at the way they can go about doing things now. But those tactics were like instigated from that need in 47 to just jump on this and make sure that no one is saying anything about this, and that they have whatever advances can come from this all to themselves, because, you know, they've reached the America's reached the stage whereby they've seen the advances in weapons, they've seen the destruction laid out in world wars twice over, and now they're seeing something that's come from somewhere else that is so far ahead of even what the most advanced theoretical German stuff was. The scariest guys on the planet, with some of the most intelligent people on the planet, had some of the most dangerous toys lined up, and this stuff makes it all look like
can we
nothing.
Actually, now I'm going to have to put my foot down, start getting into the actual story of what's going on, because we're an
That's
hour.
what I just tried to do.
Dude, I haven't even got past fucking Mark Brazel yet properly.
And I just said getting back to 1947. I was trying to get us back there.
Okay, because we're literally an hour in, like. Okay. Fucking hell. Okay, so Mark Brazel finds all of the stuff. Then they send out the thing with the Mark. What I always found a bit weird. One thing that does annoy me a little bit with this series, and it's not a bad annoyance. It's just a annoyance. Is like, say, a lot of the Mark Brazel testimony isn't directly from Mark Brazel. It's from his daughter. So you're getting.
See, that's where I kind of had problems from.
Yeah,
there's a lot of secondhand testimony.
She would have believed, right?
Yeah. So,
he would have believed it, but that doesn't necessarily mean.
Well, it's not even that she believes it. It's she's recanting what she's been told, and if she she's recalling what she's been told, and if she's recalling what she's been told, albeit her believing it to be true or not, she's still recalling truthfully what she's been told. Do you know what I mean? So there is.
That was the only problem I had with the whole AI thing, because it was like it helped a lot of stuff, but there were a few spots where I was like,
Now you need
the direct interviews that are important.
Yeah, you need to take into account they're not all like that. There are some.
No.
And the direct interviews are very telling.
Oh yeah,
from several different accounts.
Like I
said, especially Jesse Marcel.
A lot of it's
Jesse Marcel Jr.
It's like
and Jesse Marcel himself.
Yeah.
You're telling the truth that this is what he told you, but it's like, is what he told you the truth? That's where that with the second hand, where you can kind of see like, okay, like, yeah, they're saying that this is what Dad told me. They believe, and that's coming across true. This is what he did tell me, but it's what he told me to the truth, and that you can't do with second hand.
So anyway,
stories.
the majority, if memory serves me correctly, of the Mark Brazel stuff was testimony from Marion Strickland, who was a neighbor of his, she essentially, I'd imagine he told her everything that was going on, because he went quite in depth to her and her own. Marion's a bit of a different cookie, I suppose, because she also, as well as just recalling what Mark had told her, like, she ran into Mark as they were bringing him to the radio station after he'd been tortured for several days to tell the new version of the story and stuff. So she did actually have some kind of on-site visual presence as to some of the weird shit that was going on in relation to everything, which you would all lends to the truth of the story. Do you know what I mean? Which would be like, okay, well, if something hadn't gone down, why are 3 or 4 military dudes bringing a guy who visibly looks sleep deprived and shook?
Tell visibly he looked like a shell of him, like he wasn't there. Same as something changed between.
Same as that radio DJ himself, because he was like, the minute there was 4 soldiers standing around him while he was doing his radio interview, I knew there was something fucking up.
Something's up, yeah.
Like Marion Strickland thought she was like, I can't actually tell you was he wearing handcuffs or not the way he was walking. Do you know what I mean? Like he was walking restricted. There was also Phyllis McGuire, who was, I think she's the sheriff's secretary, I believe. She had all of the, she was confirming all of the Max Brazel and the sheriff interactions and stuff like that. There was also Frank Joyce gets mentioned, who he was the
head of the radio station.
Yeah, he's the guy. Frank, dude. Speaking of other people who got a rough fucking go because of this, Frank Joyce is one. They ended up shoving him in a nut house for 12 months to discredit
Well,
him.
and then they threatened to shut down like a station.
Yeah,
Um,
I think
yeah.
it was Mac got shoved in the nut house, and they just
No,
they threatened to take away his license
No,
for Joyce.
give me a minute. No. There was. I might have the wrong. Because there's 2 radio stations involved. I think.
There's
All
two.
right. I
There's
don't
the
want-
DJ and there's the DJ and there's the owner of the radio station. They conducted the interview with Mac,
Yeah.
and
Give me
the owner of the station was threatened. They said they'd take away his license if they
Yeah. No.
didn't.
Frank Joyce. They shoved him in a nut house. No, sorry. Actually, hang on. Sorry. 2 minutes.
And dude, it doesn't even matter how long, because at that point in that time period, once you had that stigma on you,
Yeah.
you were there for a reason. You were just batshit crazy.
Yeah.
And you're going to carry that to the grave no matter
And
what.
anytime you come
You
out,
have
someone's
that.
be like, "Oh, well,
Yeah,
he was in the
sorry.
nut house. You can't believe it."
Yeah. So
Right.
Frank Joyce. Frank Joyce ends up getting shoved in a nut house for 12 months, and as they said in the TV series, you have to take into account this isn't like a mental home now. Do you know what I mean? This is a mental home back in 1947 where they were like had carte blanche to just
That shit was
you know,
torture.
give you a look.
crack they wanted.
Well, yeah, whatever you want. Like if they thought a lobotomy
yeah,
might
dude.
solve out your alien story, they could give you a lobotomy. If they decided to electroshock you, you know, it was like you were fair game. Like mental health patients back then were. It was one flew over the cuckoo's nest, really, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? It was.
Oh, dude, it
yeah.
was just a constant
They were just cannon
experiment
fodder
that
for
they
sale.
had.
Yeah,
Right.
Did you say cannon fodder for sadism?
They were cannon
Sadists.
fodder for sadists.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
if anybody had a bright idea of like, hey, I think if you do this, that might cure them. Well,
Well,
we've
man-
got 500 people. Let's figure it out.
If you go through the history of the mental health system, like the amount of like literal, you know, crazy, you know, doctors and their crazy experiments.
It was basically, I mean, I actually, one has to wonder where the line is drawn between guys like Mengele and fucking mental health, because half the stuff they were doing, while it could be drawing parallels to grave robbing and, you know, the advances made in medical sciences, there's other guys like who just, there was no advances made. They were doing it just because they enjoyed hurting people. And I think it was the same with a lot of the supposed mental health professionals back in the Victorian, I say Victorian days, but even up until the fucking 50s and 60s, whereby, you know,
Oh, dude, it was horrid.
like they're going into these places, and it's not because they think that what they're doing can actually cure people, but it's because they're going in there because they have an excuse to hurt people, and these are the dregs of society, and they're told they're allowed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, Max Brazel's found spaceship stuff. He reports it to the sheriff. The sheriff tells him, blah 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 blah. Jesse Marcel is sent out to check out some of that stuff. He recovers a load of the alien material. He brings some of that alien material back to his house so his son can see it before he brings it to the army base, because he has, rightly fucking so, has a sneaky suspicion that once that gets to the army base, I'm never going to be able to show this very strange thing to my son, which is a whole bundle of that strange metal plus an I-beam, which they made a big point of pointing out how I-beams are usually used in conventional structural design for something of structural significance, like the I-beam's a support structure kind of thing, you know what I mean? But there was all strange alien hieroglyphics essentially on it. You also had, there was a photographer who was on site where he was essentially told to go in and take photos but not look, which as a professional photographer I don't know how to. Well, I won't lie to you. I've got a couple of cracker just fucking boom done photo. You know, I've Austin Paris it occasionally. You know.
Did I get it? Did I get it? Okay.
Yeah, kind of like that. The main, I suppose, the best way of going through the story, because we're an hour in, are kind of like focus on the main key players storyline wise, which is Mac Brazel. You have Jesse Marcel, or should I say the Jesse Marcel stuff. Frank Joyce would be probably important as well, and
Marcel's immediate commanding officer as well, I think, because he was the one that turned around straight away and went, we need to. He was the one that basically was trying to be a glory hound and alert the media and basically say, look what I found, and then His boss went, "You dumbass."
It wasn't it. It wasn't even his boss that went, "You dumbass." It was the boss's 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 boss. Some dudes in black suits who we all know who that is. You know.
We know who it is now.
Will Smith
But back
and Tommy
then,
Jones.
it was just
Will Smith and Tommy Lee
presidential
Jones.
representatives.
Yeah. Will Smith and Tom. Well, they were still men in black.
That's what they developed into.
Yeah, but as in, did they
okay,
develop
were in
into
dark
that?
suits.
Because
They're
they
all
kind
described
of
as
did
wearing
like
dark
last,
suits and stuff. Yeah.
and were supposedly the reported supposed men in black was
Yeah.
another statement.
No. Hang on. When I say they developed into, I mean that if we look at this as being the instigating incident,
Yeah,
these are the first two guys on the scene. What they're doing, their work would form into the institution we now know as the Men in Black.
except I don't think there's only two dudes because there seems to be men in
Yeah,
black lads
that's what I
showed
said.
up. Yeah.
That's what I said. Institution.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Who else? Frank Joyce.
There was remember there was, I think, oh no, sorry, I'm getting mixed up with another event again. Never mind.
Colonel Blanchard is the guy who went to send the excuse me. Colonel Blanchard is the guy who got told about the UFO stuff the unidentified material and everything like that and a supposed crash site and went, "This is fucking great news. I'm going to be in history, blah blah blah," and went to send it all off. At which point it got all sent off, and what is the name of the guy? Colonel Blanchard.
General Begley? No.
Bill Rickett, I think, might have been the guy who
Shut it all down, or tried to.
confirming properties of the strange materials. Yeah, there's a couple of different scientists. I should have actually broken these down. I kind of have everything. I have everything broken down episodically. I should have broken it down personably, if you know what I mean. No, it is. It would be chronologically, but it's chronologically and episodically, if you know what I mean.
As opposed to persona dramatized.
Well, I think I should have done. In retrospect, I think I should have done like a Mac Brazel section and then a Jesse Marcel section, opposed to going through
The overall.
Yeah. So, yeah. Gerald Anderson. Who's he? Talk amongst yourselves there for a second. Oh yeah, Dan Rowe is the okay.
So
I think my biggest problem, like I said, was you can't really use the same AI program on somebody retelling a story that they overheard. But like that was my really only biggest issue with it. But then, like even Pam pointed out, you can take sections of what they say, compare that to actual conversations with the real person, and while I may have an issue with this, it still helps.
It's corroborating what they're saying.
Yeah.
Well, that
Right.
It lends validity to their statements.
well
Exactly.
that's the great thing about this release of all the footage and stuff like that is that secondhand testimony or not, is that even those people's secondhand testimonies that they're recalling what they've been told, they match exactly up with testimonies of the people who were there and we have on videotape themselves talking.
And of people that they never had interactions with. I mean, like completely, 1,000 miles apart.
Actually,
they were still able to put the whole story together and connect it up. It wasn't just two neighbors. It was this dude way over here confirming what this lady way the fuck over here said. And you're able to finally get like an idea that all of this shit was true through all of these different stories and finding out.
So
we had Gerald Anderson we had Gerald Anderson
Canada.
We had Gerald Anderson and his dad as well, who are very important because they're the first people who discovered crash site number 2, which is the one with the more significantly, as I said, intact is probably not the right word to use, but for lack of a better statement, the more intact ship, and more importantly, crash site 2 is the one that has 4 now confirmed alien bodies.
You know what? That actually kind of makes more sense for the whole escape pod,
Yeah.
considering that the bodies were over there.
It's,
Yeah.
there's nothing evidentially to prove that, but
It's as good a theory as anything else.
yes,
Right.
and I will postulate on top of that. Jesus, I sound like I've been fucking watching Frasier or something.
No, it just sounds like you have a vocabulary, and well done for it.
Yes, and occasionally I go to the opera, and I think my brother might be gay.
Fair enough.
Gerald Anderson, he was a janitor, and his dad was a former Navy SEAL and microbiologist.
Who's this?
Gerald Anderson.
Gerald Anderson's a janitor now. At the time, he was a 5-year-old.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, maybe he did. Okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He was 5.
So, Gerald Anderson, there is a little bit of porky pies within his story where he said that one of the 4 the way he described the ship was there was essentially an exploded alien vessel of disc shape embedded into the ground. There was 4 bodies strewn all over the wreckage. 2 of them were stone cold dead. 1 was not looking well at all, and the other one was relatively with it. Was his description, and moving about a bit. And to the best of my knowledge, the bit that came up on True was in relation to the 4, or in relation. Was it specifically the one that was moving? Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I thought it was that general section of statement.
No, he said that 2 of the bodies were fragged. One of them was dead but didn't look injured, and the 4th one was sitting and kind of moving.
He said one was alive, but looked fucked up. He didn't use the words "fucked up," obviously, but that was essentially his description. And the other one was looking relatively unharmed.
So this is one of the actual statements. I don't know if it's the one that they did, but this is one of his statements from what he found. He said, "I remember huge black eyes. You could only see their muscles move. They were not human, and I'll maintain that to the day that I die." Anderson said, "God only knows where they were from and how far they were from home. Their toy was broke, and their situation seemed impossible," is one of his direct statements. I don't know if that's the one that they, did the whole. That was one of his statements. That was maybe during one of the interviews. I don't know if that's the particular one that they had. The
point is
AI on.
The point is that there's enough of what he said that's corroborated by other testimony that we can put down his discrepancies to. He was a 5-year-old kid at the time.
Yeah, and he might have bumped up the story, or he was so freaked out he thought one of them was moving or something, and it actually wasn't.
Right.
Although no, he's lying. Sorry, we have to remember there's lie detecting software.
Therefore, he's bumping up the story.
Yeah, so he was bumping up the story, and he's fucking sticking to it. Okay, but other than that, all of the other bits of the story that were tested came up positive.
There's definitely bodies that are found, and that's the important part.
4 bodies that are found, and yes, that is the important part. And then
Because that was the difference between all of the different stories. Like, one person said it was good, one person said it wasn't.
Yeah.
But they all kind of agreed that there were like 4 bodies in each story.
The general description given from all people, this is something you have to take into account, because there's several, there's 20 or 30 people interviewed throughout the course of this series, and everybody's description is 4 to 4.5 foot, small, grey, humanoid-looking creature with a big head on top and tapered in down below, with black eyes welded onto its head, and all of them have 4 really long fingers, not 5. And there's no shoulder or elbow region. It all seems to be just the one big limb.
And you also got to take
the classic description of a grey is actually
a small grey is
description, and interestingly enough,
dude, let Buzz.
I'm trying to say, this was at the time where this was kind of the first time the typical, that's what I was getting to, is the typical gray was described. So to have this many people witness it back then, it wasn't a whole, they're just going off of what has been told or what they've seen in a story or heard in another report. This was kind of, not saying the first reported alien, but kind of first time it's really gotten out of a mass amount of people have seen the creatures the way that they looked. So they couldn't have been going off of, well, I heard it in this story, I'll just say that's what I saw. So to kind of go and see that they all have the same description at this time period is actually a really big thing to, I don't want to say proving it, but
What's interesting is, for me, and I know this is kind of possibly stretching things a bit, I don't know, but if you look at certain legends, folklore for certain regions, the descriptions of the Greys in regards to the height, in regards to large eyes and the over large heads, does fit in kind of with folklore in regards fairy folk, the Irish, the scythe, thing like that. If you look at some of the depictions in artwork down through the centuries, or mischievous spirits, things like that, fucking elves, gnomes, in certain folklore and things like that, the short body stature, the elongated head, the larger eyes, things like that. So it does make you wonder if people were seeing, aliens for a lot longer than we might believe, and just not understanding, never seeing a vessel, just thinking that they're seeing mysterious ethereal beings from another plane, fairy folk or whatever. But it's just
So also in relation to the I would be bringing up pictures of the people we're talking about, but for some reason when I download them, they don't seem to show up in the folder until I download another one.
So I'm gonna try to see if I can send them somewhere.
No, look, I can do it that way. So that was that's Gerald Anderson, Mr. Anderson. That's Gerald Anderson there, who we were talking about, and then I'll have to find a picture in a minute. But another guy of note is there was a civil engineer who was part of the government soil conservation team, who was also out at Site 2 at the same time as Gerald Anderson. His name was Barney Barnett, and literally, virtually verbatim is what Gerald Anderson said, except he didn't talk about anyone moving around.
It was his testimony that really has you kind of going, okay, you can understand.
Yeah.
You can back up, you can corroborate 99.99% of what this other guy is telling us. So it's acceptable.
Yeah. Which is fucking, this, in relation to the series itself, you're only, what are we at? You're 2 episodes in at that stage. There's already a lot of shit lining up, and you're like, wow. And it starts to get even crazier there. Spoke about significant threats issue to him. Yeah, that's Gerald Anderson talking about how military police, when they came to the site, essentially in not so many... Actually, he was another guy who mentioned bodies, you'll just be bones in a desert.
The red-headed captain gets mentioned a lot, and it's him that seems to have the fixation with, we're going to leave your bones in the desert. Like I said, you know yourself, man. You get into speech patterns, certain things... You use certain phrases, certain words.
Well, it's also the red-headed captain very much seems to be not on the men in the black suits level of things, but as in on the grunt level. The ginger guy seems to be him and his squad are the boys that get sent into. Yeah.
If this is the beginning of Men in Black, then the lads in suits are the management, and he's the first of the enforcers that they'd recruit.
Yep.
Or whatever.
You had Robert Smith, who was part of the air transporter unit, claimed the Men in Black were... Oh yeah, I remember there was a bit of a misstep on the pages there. They were at Roswell as representatives of President Truman. He was one of the people that were there as all of the alien debris was starting to leave, or not the alien debris, they were there as the message from Colonel... from the message from that colonel, basically, that was like, hey, guess what? We're after finding a whole bunch of alien shit. Send it to the news. So he was there to confirm that the Men in Black were there at that stage, and kind of like, shut your shit down now. What you mean he's already driven off the base? Fucking hell. Okay. Fuck. You're getting locked up. You're getting locked up, and you're never seen the light of day again. And I don't know who the fuck you are, but you're getting locked up as well. What the fuck did I do? I'm only the janitor. Don't.
Were they the Oprah of the military? You're getting locked up, and you're getting locked up. Everybody's getting locked up.
Yeah, but at least if it's Oprah, you're getting a humpback whale.
Oh, yeah.
There's benefits. You get a humpback whale, and you get a humpback
I
whale.
think,
Humpback whales for everybody.
I think one of the most interesting people in the story, and he'd be popping up next, is the coroner, because they even mentioned it.
He
They
was.
even mentioned it
You were
Yeah.
reading my fucking mind right now.
They,
That
they
dude
even mentioned
really
it, they even mentioned it in the video that for a lot of years people were looking at his story as very suspect. People were hearing his story and kind of going, I don't know, man, I don't know.
Glenn
And then when he
Dennis.
was put through the process and what he had to say, everyone's kind of like, fuck. And it also lends credence to other stuff that came out years later, which, whether fake or not, has you questioning, well, how close did they get it to what really happened?
Everything that Glenn Dennis said came out to be absolutely true, bar the one statement where he lied about why he was at Bunker 84.
Which, once again,
Which, yes,
within
just
reason,
to
we think we can-
clarify, amongst ourselves as well as everybody on the show, all kind of went, he's obviously covering for someone
Yeah.
at the
I
base.
sent you a couple of pictures and stuff.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
Glenn Dennis there myself. It's all good.
Okay, it's one of the ones you
Yeah.
just sent.
I gotta say, like,
Glenn Dennis was never going to be a problem because we have actual video evidence of Glenn Dennis talking.
Yeah.
So that's Mr. Glenn Dennis there. So he essentially was a mortician who got a call from the Roswell's in-house mortician, the on-base mortician, basically asking, so if you had 4 bodies that were out in the desert for an indeterminate amount of time, but we'll say not a healthy amount of time, what's the best way of preserving those bodies without ruining any of the genetic material within said bodies? At which point Glenn Dennis was like, wait, what? And then and then he was like, I suppose.
Coffins.
Yeah, well, he suggested a hazmat or
No, I think they asked him
they
about
called
child
to see
coffins
if you
first.
had any child caskets.
yeah,
There were
hermetically
first they
sealed
asked.
child's caskets, 4 of them is what they looked for.
Yeah.
At which point
so-
he was like, I don't remember any accidents involving children recently. What the
Yeah.
frack?
And then Glenn Dennis claimed to be on the military base July 8th to bring an injured airman back there that he had run into. That is the part of the story that turns out to be false. Well, it turns out that he was there on July 8th. It's
But not for the reason he said.
not for the reason that he said. And he said he sees an ambulance.
Everyone reckons he's just covering for whoever it was he
He's-
was actually meeting. the
Well, he
nurse.
talks about a nurse telling him a story later on, so I'm assuming it's probably the same lady. He sees an ambulance with wreckage in there of no more than 3 feet in size. All turned out to be true. He claims to have snuck past the military police and tried to see what was in Hangar 84. A nurse came out of one of the hangars, and the nurse from one of the hangars comes out of an examination room gagging, and then when she realizes he's standing in the hallway, has a little minor episode telling him, what the fuck are you doing here? You need to get out of here before you get in a whole lot of trouble now, like get gone. And then Ginger Boy shows up again, and some of his boys, and politely explain to him, not so politely asked, did you see anything? And he was like, no. And they were like, whatever, if you did see anything, whatever you saw, you didn't fucking see it. And yet again, he's another guy that goes, I'll end up getting buried in the desert. Now, you have to take into account, Roswell's kind of like a rancher, cowboy, Texan town. Same as Mac Brazel, and the same as the sheriff and Glenn. You know, they're all hardened rancher boys who don't take well to being fucking told what to do. And he evidently told your man, he was like, you can't tell me what to do like that. And your man went, yeah, I fucking can. And then his lads just went, grabbed and dragged him out of the place. Which is fucking lucky, considering what they were doing to someone else fucking 2 doors down, which was lock him in a fucking room and keep him awake for fucking 5 days. I'd also imagine because there's only one mortician in the town, and they were kind of like, okay, we can't explain the mortician just fucking up and vanishing. I have 500 ranchers. There's plenty of ranchers. There's going to be no shortage of hearses going around, you know? Horses.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. Like at first, listening to his whole story, I was really surprised when at the end of it, it all came up being truthful. I just thought it was like just the fact that they would call him for stuff like, and there was just so many weird things that I was like, no, true.
Once again, early days of trying to figure this shit out, man.
Mm-hmm.
Early days trying to figure this shit out. You're always going to stumble.
You have to remember, in the initial 48 to 72 hours of this, everybody involved was on a learning curve.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They perfected things after this. That's why I keep referring to the tactics they were using, the strong arm tactics.
And on top of that, not only was everybody on a learning curve, but very quickly that learning curve was being told, you need to stop curving.
Get better.
Now, you need to stop curving and start doing what we say.
Peaking.
Talk to your man. Don't let him know what the fuck we're talking about. You know what I mean? A lot of people were starting to realize very quickly that this amazing discovery for mankind was very quickly not going to be an amazing discovery for mankind at all, and just get locked in, as I've been describing it, and for many years now, America's basement, which is Roswell, because that's where all the dark, dingy secrets just get fucking pop down in there now. Don't know what's there, you know, unless a load of YouTubers show up and try and raid the place.
Interestingly enough, Mr. Dennis would end up back at the base later on, like a day or two later, I think, was it?
Yeah, I'm going to come back to that in a sec, because there's another bit that ties into this, because it's on the same day of July 8th with
okay, sorry.
Private Elivar Benavides.
Yeah.
So he just gets handed a gun. He's one of the guys that's outside of Hangar 84, and out of nowhere, one of the boys from inside comes out, hands him a gun, and goes, "You're on inside duty now. Come with us." Essentially, he immediately noticed. He immediately Yeah. No. He was told. He wasn't told look, but don't look. He was the guy that was told, "Whatever you see, you didn't see it." Is the exact words that he was told. Whatever you see, you didn't see it. He noticed a foul odor. There were 4 bodies on stretchers, alien bodies. He was told, whatever you see, you didn't see it. He noticed one of the bodies was moving slightly. And its arm kind of reached out and brushed against his leg as he was walking by at one stage. That's all true. Which is weird that your man comes up as false, isn't it? For seeing the
Just
body
means that
moving.
Not necessarily, because when you think about it, right, this is something that he's lived with his entire life. He's heard other stories. So him saying that I saw it move when he knows that someone else said that they saw it move.
Yeah, true.
You know, what's one difference?
True.
Well, I mean, like,
True.
this being the first, like, this is also something, like, you know, you're not prepared for, like, so, you know, your mind could be playing tricks on you. You could have, in your head, thought you saw it move.
Well, like we said, he was definitely lying about seeing it move. That was kind of what he got caught on.
There was another guy there at the day, and I'm just going to... technically, she was later on in the episodes, but I just... Her story kind of fits in here. So her name was Sappho Henderson. She was Captain Oliver Pappy Henderson's wife, who he was one of the former pilots for the Green Hornets, who were essentially the guys that were the gatekeepers to the nuclear weapons. They were the guys that were the airborne infantry for dropping the nukes on places if said nukes needed to be dropped.
They were the lads that flew the Enola Gay.
Yeah. So his wife and him are in a shop one day, and on one of the newspaper racks there's a newspaper article talking about the Roswell incident, at which point he goes, "Well, I guess things is in the newspapers, I can tell you now." And she's like, "What you mean?" And he was like, "Read that article. It's all fucking true. 100%. It's all true." And then he goes on to tell her he saw little people that were there, small bodies with large heads. And then Catherine Grood, who is his daughter, so it's his wife and his daughter telling what he's told them, essentially. She went on to say then they were 3 feet high, pale, slightly flat eyes fitted to their large heads, really humanoid looking. All of that's true as fuck. That's mother and daughter cooperated in relation to that story. We've talked about General Ramey already, who is he's Captain Cover-Up, really, isn't he?
Yeah. He's an arsehole.
Oh, he's a bad bollocks. He is a bad...
He's like
he's a bad...
the villain of the story.
If there was a proper... outside of the Men in Black guys, if there was a proper mustache twister within the entire thing, Colonel or General Ramey is it.
I liked when Marcel is talking... I like when Marcel is talking about that infamous picture of the weather balloon thing, and how he thinks he's walking into the wreckage he's brought, and that it's going to be put out, and instead he walks in, and that picture taken is him literally looking up, going, "Seriously, this is what we're fucking going with?"
No. That's not what the picture is. The picture is not only is he looking up seriously, is that what he's going with? He's also realizing at the time as he looks up that General Ramey is No, General
Throwing
Raimi
to the wolves.
is literally making him look like a fucking muppet on stage.
Yeah.
That's
Because he had someone else come in and go,
he-
yeah, that's definitely a weather balloon. You couldn't mistake it for anything
Well, he
else.
kind of got ambushed, really, because he got brought out and he thought it was going to be this great. Well, he had his suspicions before he got brought out because the general was essentially, okay, you shut the fuck up and don't say anything, and I'll handle it
Let
from
me
here.
do the talking.
At which point he got brought out. I'll put it up here, man.
In the chat if
It'll be fine.
I don't know if that was scooping up. I've been sneakily sending you pictures just in case you needed them.
The interesting thing was there was a picture he had. There's another picture, and the general's in it, and he's holding a piece of paper. And thanks to modern technology, we can see some of the words on the paper, and they allude to the actual events that they're covering up. You know, there's reference to victims of the crash and bodies or something like that, and it's fucking hilarious. Yeah, there, that picture right there, your eyes just like,
Yeah,
seriously.
that's him holding some of the weather balloon in his hand, as currently off in front of him at the other side of the camera, there's a load of reporters and TV reporters and journalists and General Raimi literally laughing their asses off at him because he's been made to look like a total tit, because he's supposed to be one of the experts in these style of technologies, and for him to mistake it as a completely foreign entity when it's a buy it off the shelf weather
He's
balloon.
an airport intelligence officer. It's his job to know everything in the skies. And to have another guy come in and basically on camera or basically in front of all the reporters go, oh yeah, that's a weather balloon. Now, to be fair, the other guy doesn't have a clue what's going on. He's just told to come in by the general and identify what's there on the ground. The man walks in and goes, oh yeah, that's a fucking weather balloon.
Even his written testimony, because Jesse Marcel a couple of weeks later gets sick of being taking the piss out of, and he goes to no, not that one. Irving, no, not Irving. 2 seconds. Oh, what's this fucking name? Joyce, Mark Presley, George Robert. George Robert is the guy from the other radio station. Oh yeah, there we go. Captain Sheridan Covett. So he filled out an assessment form, just confirming that it was in fact a weather balloon, even though he was there with Marcel and had seen the actual stuff. Like the guy on the day that they brought out to assess it was a different dude, and he assessed correctly because what he was given to assess was a weather balloon.
He didn't know anything about it. He was literally told,
the bait and switched him.
What's this? It's a weather balloon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he started laughing because he was like, I don't know how an intelligence officer could have
gotten this wrong.
And
They
then
just
probably
kept trying
around
to
that comment was when
credit
General
everybody.
Raimi was like, well, I know how I'm selling this story anyway. Fucking moron is a fucking moron and doesn't know what the weather balloon is. Awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff. But anyway, in relation to that, Marcel confronts him and he gives out to him and he goes, why won't you tell the truth? You saw what it was as well. Why won't you tell the truth? And he walked off going, don't blame it on me, ask Washington.
Yeah.
That's it. Threw his hands up in the air, walked off really pissed off and went, don't blame me, ask Washington.
That was the fellow that worked for Marcel and knew.
Yeah, that's
the score.
Sheridan
Not-
Sheridan Covett. Covett?
Yeah, but
He's
but
the
it was
one
a
who
different-
wrote
and
the
it's-
original story, but then rewrit it after.
Yeah, and it was a different guy then that they brought in and off the bat to identify the weather balloon and led credence to the disgracement of Marcel.
Now, speaking of Glenn Dennis again, one of the reasons people considered him to be one of the outside of Mac Brazel and Marcel, one of the reasons in this whole thing, and a lot of the investigators on the actual show as well considered his testimony to be very crucial, is because he had, when it came to getting a description of the alien, the nurse that he was speaking to on premises of Warehouse 84 wasn't just some nurse that was bouncing around Warehouse 84. She was the nurse that was essentially against her will made work on the alien autopsy.
Yeah, she kind of wandered in to do one thing, got spotted by the doctors and went, you, come here, we need you for this.
Yeah, and also because she wandered in now, and if you let her wander out of the room, she's probably going to get fucking locked in a box. So you're part of, you work here now. Okay, cool, good. Right. The odor coming off of these...
but it's going to suck worse not working here.
The odor coming off of the aliens' bodies during the autopsy was so bad. Now, I'd imagine a lot of that has to do, outside of it being an alien entity and it might just smelling different, I would imagine the decomposition at that stage, because you're a good week and a half in now. And If
They
you
were
think
in the
if you think
desert.
about it, a day and a half in, they were already ringing a mortician to go. So if we had some really badly decomposed bodies from the sun with the desert and the sun, but nothing in relation
What
to
would
the thing
your
that people are talking
preservation
about, how
stuff
would you,
do? How would we look after them?
what sort of ice box do I need to put them in to stop the thing with the thing happening, basically? So I'd imagine this thing's pretty bad, but she's super important because when she was talking to him, she didn't just describe the grey aliens, she literally drew him a diagram of what they looked like. And in regards to testimony is what's going on. So I'll just read the whole quote that he had here. So he went, she made me swear to a sacred oath, and I said, what do you mean by sacred oath? And she said, like, cut your arm off, sacred oath. Everyone in the room laughs. Then he went, she was going into her room to get supplies. There were 2 doctors in there doing an autopsy on the bodies. She said, when they saw me, they made me work with them. Then she said the smell was so bad, it was nearly devastating, is what she said in relation to them. Then on a later date, she met up with him and she pulled out one of her kind of nurse's prescription pad. And on the back of the nurse's prescription pad, she essentially drew the arms, the body shape, and the head of what the aliens look like, which, as Giz so aptly pointed out earlier, they are small greys that are the most common in relation to what people describe when they see aliens. So that's it. So lady literally working on the autopsy.
More importantly, what
she
they made her work
disappeared.
on was more importantly, what she worked on was the autopsy. And like I said, what's interesting is years ago we had that Roswell autopsy fucking mockumentary that came out.
Oh yeah.
But now you have to think retrospectively. Now, if you put it on and you watch it, you have to wonder how close did they actually get to what actually happened.
The radio station guys, by the way, were that you were mixing up because there was 2 radio stations involved. So the radio, there was the radio station that did the interview with Mac Brazel, and there was the radio station that got the note
broadcast.
from the colonel about a broadcast to do the alien thing. So
Sorry, I thought it was the same station.
Yeah. So no, all different stations. So Frank
Okay.
Joyce,
My bad.
just so we have the narrative clear. Frank Joyce is the radio journalist that worked for WKJ.
JBL,
No, that's a wrestler.
GBL, WKGBL.
No, it was WKJ something. It was a 4-letter. Anyway, whatever the radio station was, Frank Joyce is the one that did the interview with Mac Brazel. Okay, and then you had a guy called Whithall, and you had George Robert, who were they essentially housed Max Brazel initially when the thing got launched, but they also supposedly, it turned out, one of the false statements that came up from George Robert was when they were saying, did your partner essentially sell... Oh no, sorry, I might have that the wrong way around. Sorry, it's George
You
Robert.
do. Yeah,
George Robert and whatever the Whithall guy's name.
Whitmore.
It might be Whitmore. That's it. Sorry, thank you. Yeah, it's so Whitmore. We don't have on. There's so many names. Sorry, Whitmore. We don't have any actual testimony from, but everything else, all of the testimony in relation to this end of the story is from his radio partner, George Robert. So one interesting thing that turned out was that one thing that George Robert lied about was the fact that Whitmore. There was always a rumor that he told the army, that he ratted him out. Basically, he's in my gaff. Come get him.
That's the guy I think who had his license threatened that I was thinking of earlier.
That's literally what I was about to read. It. Yeah. So, interesting part of that story was that, like, I remember he said in the documentary that he was like, he was a house guest for the night. You wouldn't dob out a house guest for the night, essentially, and that is just false. Yeah, so he literally sold him up to fucking Swanee. Probably not his fault, because I'd imagine the same shit that was about to happen to Mac Brazel was very much explained was going to happen to him if you don't tell us where Brazel is.
We know exactly what kind of stuff Captain Ginger was going around threatening people with, and if he was just threatening to take away his license, then he was getting off lightly.
Yeah.
In comparison.
There's also very interesting evidence in relation to how, like, as we said, like the whole stuff got brought up to Truman, so we know it had gotten all the way up to the White House, but there was a switchboard lady at one stage that there was a news reporter trying to get the news story out to, and all of a sudden all of her phone lines went dead.
The telephone, the teletype stopped, and
wouldn't let her go out. And then all of a sudden a message just comes in through the teletype telling her, this is the FBI, all further communications are to be ceased. That's it, nothing else. Just,
dude, that had to be creepy as shit when that popped up.
I'd have been like, I quit. That would have been me. I'd have been like, I'm out.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
Nope.
More importantly,
Where do you
the
go?
very fact
Oh,
that they,
fuck this.
hang on. More importantly, the very fact that A, they had the capability, and B, they were doing it with clearly nobody's knowledge back in 1947. Right. That's a government wiretap on a media communications outlet. They were watching even back then, and you are surprised by the strong arm tactics?
No, I'm not surprised by the strong arm tactics.
No, I'm sorry. I'm
sitting here, like, kind of doing my fucking happy little job.
Well,
and they're all like, they're watching you. Oh, fuck.
I'm saying retrospectively, when you look back at this stuff, people are saying how they're surprised by the fact that the government would do this, that their military would come in and threaten people like this. And then you're looking at it going, but they're already doing this. They're already tapping a media outlet and then stepping on at least one story. The gods know how many others that may have contravened. I mean, how long have they been doing this kind of stuff? This is just the biggest.
Speaking of the strong arming, and we'll take a quick, not like a video break, but we'll take a quick minor. Are we frozen up or something? No.
No.
Oh,
we're all good.
Okay, it's weird. It's frozen up on my screen.
I'll say I'm watching everybody move. I don't have a spin or anything.
Okay. Or maybe it's only on my phone. Two seconds, because it's my only way of keeping an eye on the chat. One moment there, kids.
Currently, chat's just going on. Bill is explaining to me what Doner Kebab Pizza is, and Bree found out she has to train.
Doner Kebab Pizza is supposedly lamb meat.
Yeah.
I like how you said supposedly.
Yeah.
He was like,
well,
hey,
man, I
like
won't lie to you.
like
I've worked
delicious.
in a takeaway, and they come in with a... What's the best way of describing it? They come in with a questionable logo on the side of the bag.
I just never heard of it. Like, I had to Google the shit.
Yeah, so anyway, strong arming. So, Barbara Quager Grant, who was Barbara Quager? Barbara Quager, who's the granddaughter of Sheriff Wilcoy, who was the sheriff that Mac Brazel would have been speaking to, said the military came at him like you wouldn't believe. And of course, because he's, as I described earlier, it being like a kind of hardened rancher town, the sheriff is hard as a coffin nail.
He's a fucking former army vet.
Yeah, so they came at him like you wouldn't believe, and warned him that not only will you be killed, but we'll get your family and all of your family as well.
And that was true.
So drop it. Basically. Oh yeah, they weren't lying about that.
Yep.
They weren't lying about that. Frankie Rowe, who would have been the daughter of Dan Dyer, who was so the sheriff. The fireman. Yeah, so the sheriff had sent a fireman up just to double check and everything, not realizing that military people were already up and evacuating, or not evacuating, cleaning the scene up.
This was when Mac first came in, because they didn't know what it was. So just in case it's like a downed plane or anything, best send somebody up just to see what the story is.
Who got redirected out of there very quickly, and also was very quickly told, you didn't see fucking nothing. And if you say you saw anything, we'll come to have a chat with you. But when the full system shut down on the story was going on, they actually came to Dan Dyer's house, and his daughter. Sorry, got fucking these goddamn Viking locks. She said. Oh no, sorry, that's the wrong one. She said, talking in relation about the military, the red-haired captain tried to silence her father. He had this club in his hand, whatever it was. You know, there's a lot of desert out here, a lot of desert to hide your bodies. You'll be nothing but bones. So a little bit, the bit about him beating the bat off his hand supposedly came out to be false, I believe, in that. And then the rest of it came out to be true. in relation to the threats.
To me, unless I mixed it up, or for some reason I thought like it said that the claim of the threats weren't true, but the fact that they were there was true. They never.
Hang on. No. I think it was the wording was false, but they were there. The threat, the wording of the threat was false, but they were definitely
there.
there.
But it's weird that the wording of the threat mentions you'll be nothing
the
but
desert.
bones. Yeah, the desert. You'll be nothing but bones. Do you know what I mean?
They were also saying that there might have been something that threw that off, but I can't remember what their explanation for that was. Apart from just it was a tense moment, and she might have been remembering words differently or something like that. Or
I picked it up.
Like
I picked it up
at the time.
Yeah, she was 12. I picked it up as that they were threatening him, but it wasn't him being held up against a wall with a bat. It was more of a conversation than an actual physical.
There was something in
that they were on his doorstep.
Yeah, I think it was the physicality that was described wasn't there, but the actual conversation was, if memory serves me correctly.
It's another one of those things that's 99% or enough of it is proving true that you're able to kind of go, okay, well, that's about, because if you talk to anybody, and there's a reason that cops talk to multiple witnesses at an event, because whether people intend to or not, and sometimes people deliberately embellish because that's just what people do. Sometimes people just don't remember things the exact same as others. But there is a reason why you correlate multiple different eyewitness accounts to get to the truth. You don't just go off one or two stories. You look for all the stuff that ties them together. And once again, when it comes to these things, we're looking at a situation whereby 90% of what we're hearing is proven to be true. And if there is that one little thing, that it can be put down to the discrepancy that is being human, whereby it's just in your nature to sometimes embellish things because that's just the way you are. You're a storyteller. It just happens naturally.
The George Roberts story, sorry, I forgot to mention something, that the phone call about shutting down his broadcasting license, they were told it was literally Washington when they were on the phone to them. Who's this? It's Washington.
Washington.
Yeah. You're not going to do the broadcast, or if you do your broadcast, it's very easy for you to lose your broadcasting license.
Yeah.
And by that we mean you won't have one anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
And speaking of Washington, there was a very interesting it's a very small audio clip bit by a guy named General Thomas DuBose, and it's just an interesting audio clip, and I think it kind of surmises everything in relation to this whole cover-up, which he obviously came out years later and said this, but like the one sentence he said was, the cover story, the balloon, and everything else, forget it. That's it. That was his one quote about it. Forget it.
Yeah.
Poppycock, basically, to quote Rochi from earlier on in the night. So, I have to say, okay, number one, this didn't really go in the format that I was hoping for. I had a whole layout planned and it went fucking kiboshed, but we got through it eventually. There's less images than I'd hoped to bring up.
This is a topic, though, it's kind of hard because it's just there's so much information out there.
Look, let's be fair. Let's be honest. With the four of us, every fucking topic is hard. We're not renowned for staying on track. It's not. It's literally. If anything, it's one of the reasons people show up for the show on a weekly basis is that we sidetrack, and the sidetracks tend to be.
I think the main point.
Is it cooking recipes or is it talking about World War? Who knows?
I think the main point is that throughout the course of these episodes, we do get, regardless of whether you've been into this kind of stuff for years, like myself and Johnny has, and you're getting confirmation of details that we were already very much aware of, regardless of how many people told us we were crazy.
And Buzz, the guy who liked it so much, I literally did a podcast with him about it, and Buzz.
Yes, okay, fine. Point is, whether you were into this stuff for years and you're getting confirmation of details that you've heard filtered down, or stuff that you've seen filtered down through different media outlets, because a lot of elements from what actually happened have been taken over the years and disseminated in various different ways, to the point that up until this technology came about and up until we had someone sit down and look at these interviews and say these are true, then you are able to look at them with a certain amount of disbelief because of all these other times that details were replicated in other scenarios. But now we
Yeah.
have a story, and we
Right.
have the complete picture,
Okay.
and we have people.
Are we back talking about TV shows that have recreated Roswell in them?
We're talking about the fact that we have validation for something that that a lot of people have been aware of for years,
Yes.
but have been discounted because that it was the intention.
Yes. Well, it's validation and it's also confirmation. Do you know what I mean? Because like I won't lie to you, as a conspiracy nut and stuff, there's times, especially on the more governmental kind of controlling the masses side of conspiracies, I'm a little bit in and out on. You know what I mean? Like all of that kind of thing. But like when it comes to the alien stuff, I've been bashing aliens since I was a fucking teenager, and there's a way you're made feel fucking crazy. Contrary to the fact that the realm of possibilities, like there's so many planets within a fucking galaxy, and there's so many galaxies within a fucking it's the other way around. There's so many universes within a galaxy, and there's so many galaxies within a fucking, what's the one above that?
No. You had it the wrong way around.
I had it the wrong way around. Sorry, it's galaxies,
We
universes.
are in the Milky Way galaxy. There are
Yeah.
so many galaxies within the universe.
And there's so many universes within the whatever.
Multiverse.
I don't think it's
it-
multiverse, because that's multiple different realities. I think there is a bigger system.
What if all the layers of the multiverse
We're
are
not
stacked
even.
together?
That's not even what we're talking about.
Okay,
no,
we're not getting.
no,
Hang on. Or is it? Because don't forget, there is
it's not.
a strong theory that it's not aliens but extra-dimensional entities. Except no, because now we have proof that it's aliens.
Yeah,
Never mind.
I was just going to say, Bart, the whole fucking thing we were talking about where it was
right.
aliens.
The main,
No, I
main
think-
thing is. Go ahead, Carter.
I was just gonna say, I think it's because, like, you know, I've always dug this fucking topic, but one of my things is like always been like, how can you think we're the only fucking flea on a dog's back when you look at the size? Like we there's spots out there that we don't even know yet because we've not been able to get out there. So to think that we're the only ones, and like I've got friends that are like, no, it's just us. I'm like, I just can't fathom
It's a mathematical
that kind of
impossibility.
right.
It's ignorant to think that you're the only one, and like you
Well,
said, you were getting into the galaxies upon all this stuff. It's ignorant to think that you're the only living planet.
Currently, outside of this documentary, and outside of the alien declassified stuff that happened during the lockdown and everything like that, it's also plain ignorance, because on Mars and several other things, they found living organisms within
Yep.
water and soil and things like that. And
Yep.
that style of living organism is literally one of the founding stones for any sort of species to evolve from. That's how we were all fucking stupid amoebas floating around in a fucking big ball of goop at one stage. And then one of us grew a leg and a fucking reptilian tail, called ourselves a T-Rex, and took the fucking place over for a while until a fucking meteor from the sky ruined it all.
Children, that's not how evolution works. There was a lot of steps before that crap. We had nothing to do with the T-Rex.
But it was cool while we were there.
No, the T-Rex had to do with us, numbnuts.
No, it didn't.
Well, kind of. They were there before us.
Ah.
Oh,
But they
Rochi's
were
saying
completely
that-
wiped out and turned into chickens.
Yeah, true. And now we eat them. So, for sustenance. So, we all have a little bit of T-Rex in it somehow. I had a whole lot of T-Rex for dinner earlier, in fact.
Does that mean that I have T-Rex nuggets sometimes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you get the dino nuggets where you can literally have T-Rex nuggets? Because you can just narrow that whole thing down.
Shit, no, I have to.
It's also funny, like that, like they decided to just release all this information, and government come out and say, "Yeah, we don't know what's going on." During the pandemic, when they think they could maybe hide it behind other things,
They weren't trying to hide anything. They was trying to
don't
be a
think- yeah.
distraction.
Right. I think it was more
Or-
of a
They were trying
strategy.
to distract us. Look,
Oh, yeah.
aliens are real. Stop panicking about the virus. No shit, aliens are real. Do something about the virus.
Yeah. The world is
like,
fucked.
really was,
The world
like-
is fucked. What are we going to
I
do?
can't-
Okay.
Like,
you know
I
the
don't know
way
too many people that were like,
you know the way
wait,
they've been freaking out
real?
saying, the sky is fucked, and we've been like, no, it's not. Calm down. It's completely real. Okay, what if we tell them that the sky is actually fucked and give them some evidence? And then hopefully they'll forget about all this fucking world is fucked bollocks going on right now. You know what I mean?
To whichever
or
one went,
I have
shit.
or I have a theory that this facial recognition software came out. They realized all of the amount of documentaries that were about to come out from the footage, and they're like, "We need to get on top of this right now." Hey, I know a load of documentaries came out, lads, but don't forget who told you it was real first. We did. We literally gave you the videos.
We have, as a species, finally gotten to the stage whereby the majority, not everybody, but the majority are willing to accept the idea that alien life not only exists, but will come here and we don't necessarily have to shoot it in the face.
No.
50 years ago, that wasn't the case. And once again, yes, that is thanks to perceptions of media.
Yes.
There was an interesting comment that got put in. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Cinema Reaper or something like that. It was like, God help the aliens if they turn up now, because all the sci-fi movies and sci-fi shows for decades, all the fucking social justice wankstains will be up in arms trying to get them cancelled on behalf of the aliens for giving them a bad fucking rep. But then again, you have to look at Star Trek and things like that. They gave them a good rep in the first place. So screw you, cancel culture.
I won't lie to you. Predominantly, I'd say they're quite fairly 50-50 represented. Like
Which
in cinema,
let us be honest,
not like
it's good if
sci-fi.
you're representing humanity as well.
Yeah, but like not like sci-fi and horror and stuff in general. But if you take TV and cinema as a whole and literature as a whole, it's pretty 50-50. Do you know what I mean? For every gun-wielding psycho fucking human hunting alien, there's a fucking dude whose finger lights up and goes, fun home.
Now, that being said, if you look at the progression of that kind of storytelling and those particular things, the further you go back, the more inclined it is to be aliens are bad. And the more, as you move up the timeline, there's more stuff whereby aliens aren't necessarily the bad guys. They could be the good guys, or they could be our saviors, our friends, whatever.
Sorry, Bill, need to interrupt.
Body snatchers up to Star Trek and
stop it now. Need to interrupt. Bill, what in the shit are you talking about? Sorry, what will be more interesting is the stuff in the soil and ice from Siberia as permafrost melts from global warming. And
he's on about the aliens that aliens that were here way before everything else.
Yes, the ones who are still here.
Well, let's just hope that Lovecraft was wrong, or else we're all fucked.
I don't think that's what's going on. I fucking hope not. I can deal with aliens, man. Fucking Eldritch lords. That's it.
Once again, looking at folklore and mythology, us Irish had the Fear Bull, which were, up out of the oceans, fucking monstrous creatures. And what if they were things that came when the Arctic wasn't the Arctic? It was still a nice swampland.
Look, you think it's a big scary thing, and then you go to Kilkee Beach one weekend, and you're kind of like, yeah, I can see where the folklore came from.
Boy, have you often seen like monstrous people like deformed
emerge from the sea?
Oh, I get what you're saying now. Never mind. Took me a minute.
Yeah. What is that in the distance? It looks like a kind of. Oh, that's not what I thought it was.
All right. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah. So look, you have gotten the story in a relatively concise, albeit slightly bouncy order. Also, just to clarify for posterity purpose, Lydia Sleppy was the phone operator who received the lovely, if not terrifying, message from the FBI going, "Shut it down. We'll talk to you later." The only way that 2-line message could have been any more terrifying is if it went...
As if her name was on it.
I was just going to say, if it went, "Lydia, this is the FBI.
Stop it now.
Cease all communications now." Well,
quick,
done.
Quick question.
Out.
Quick question for all of you. Raise your hand if you believe you've seen a UFO.
I'm not sure. Like, I've never, like, the things that I've seen have always been so far away. It could be a shooting star, stuff like that. So I don't think I've ever seen anything to actually
different
Did
directions.
It move really fucking weird?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think I've seen anything that actually made me question what I was looking at.
Was the thing that you saw
just kind of like
was the thing that you saw plummeting towards the ground around the years of 1946 to early 1947?
No.
Well, I know we like to
Pretty
think I'm
sure
old,
it
but not
was
that fucking old.
Pretty sure what I saw was only about a decade ago.
Okay, I was just clarifying. Yes, I remember that because there was fucking
No,
loads
youngin',
of news reports about it.
I was doing a lot of shit back then, but nope, didn't see anything back then.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was about a decade ago, seeing like a white light and just dropped and moved and then jinked around and then off again. And this was in the middle of the day, broad daylight, with two other lads.
There was actually. Do you remember about 4 years ago? There was a fucking spate of them in Ireland. There was like a load of videos of people seeing stuff back to back. Like it was over the course of like 8 weeks.
No shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean the fucking not Stonehenge. What's the place over in Scotland? Is it Stonehenge?
Oh,
Stonehenge. Sorry, it is Stonehenge.
Stonehenge is in Scotland, but
what's the one that's like Stonehenge in Scotland?
I'm not sure, but I don't think Stonehenge is in Scotland.
It's Ireland, isn't it?
No, it's definitely England.
Okay, well then it was Stonehenge, but Stonehenge is I might have done with this TV series like I did to my brain when I did all of the DC stuff, where I seem to have just replaced actual information that I used to retain with all of this Roswell
Have
stuff.
you done a Kubiak on yourself?
Yeah, twice now, because I definitely forgot stuff after doing that.
Stonehenge is in England.
England, yeah. Stonehenge is
Northumbria?
Wiltshire, England.
Wiltshire.
Yeah. Stonehenge is supposedly a big hotspot for them. They seem to be drawn around that general area.
Newgrange?
Newgrange.
Ah, thank you, Buzz.
Thank you. That's what I'm fucking thinking of. Newgrange. That one. UFO. Hot as fuck. Loads of stuff always seen over Newgrange.
Well, sure, well, I don't know about Newgrange, but isn't Stonehenge supposed to be one of the theorize it's an ancient fucking astronomy device, basically?
Yeah.
Mapping stars and stuff. What if it's not necessarily mapping stars as it is mapping positions of all these creatures that I said were referred to in certain folktales? Although the English don't really have much in the way of folktales thanks to the Romans stamping everything out.
They come okay, give me a minute. Yep, they made one, invent Facebook. Okay, they're complaining about sea levels rising because global warming. Why are they not shipping water to deserts and build giant straw into orbit to siphon off the water? Sorry, the only reason I'm looking here and not finishing off the show is because Bill and Rochi both put their hands up. Triangular one.
Oh, yeah.
Is there something I'm supposed to be looking at specifically, or do you want to ask a question?
No, they were referring to who here has seen a UFO.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, yes, that makes total sense. All right, cool.
Rochi's saying he saw the triangular one.
Yes.
It says Newgrange has been listed as one of the top 3 places in which to see aliens UFO conferences as heard.
Knew it. Yeah, I knew it was. Sorry, I knew it was a whole lot of rocks facing towards the sky. I just couldn't remember what assortment of rocks facing towards the sky it was.
Apparently, Newgrange, Stonehenge, and a load of other places along with the pyramids are all on ley lines.
Yeah. Actually, there was another documentary series which I might get you to watch before we cover the Ben Hansen one. Actually, no, do you know what we'll do? I'll wait for you to finish the Ben Hansen one first, and then I'll put the same question out.
I've nearly finished it already.
Yeah, I'll put the same question out to you that I put out about this one before I start writing 40 pages of notes again, because I know what's going to happen, which will be, do you think we should just do the Ben Hansen documentary on its own as an episode? Because I won't lie to you, although, we were probably...
It's about 2 hours.
Yeah, because I'd say that the stream starting window was going for about 15-20 minutes. So yeah, about 2 hours. Actually, do you know what? I'm actually surprised. We're kind of coming in at our usual group chat Thursday time. Well, actually, we're not. Usually our group chat Thursday time is like, oh my god, we've been talking for 4.5 hours.
I'm really excited to finish that one.
Sorry, it was just when Rochi said to look up High Brazil. Isn't High Brazil supposed to be like Lemuria and Atlantis, one of those lost civilizations?
No idea.
I'll look it up
Or
now.
was Or was that what Vikings were supposed to
I'll look it up
refer
now.
to South
You know what?
America as?
Because we'll call it audience participation time. 2 seconds. We'll get the old screen up there. Oh my God! I blew you up huge.
What I was gonna say was I can't wait to finish the Ben Hansen one because I left off on the episode where the dude showed the picture of the weapon going off. Oh, that was good. Good eatings. Good.
It's there's several variants. But
Hi,
it's,
Brazil.
Island.
Right, I'm going to need to.
What they didn't show was a little Asian dude underneath going, Kamehameha!
It's a phantom island said to lie in the Atlantic Ocean west of Ireland.
But in Irish tradition, it is thought to come from the Irish for.
Tirnanog.
Oh yeah, okay. One of the ancient clans of the northeastern Ireland old folks. Despite the similarity, the name of the country, Brazil, also spelt Brasil, has no connection to the mythical island. Although J.R.R. Tolkien's essay on fairy stories has likened both together. The South American country was at first named Ilha de Vera Cruz, Island of the True Cross, later Terra de Santa Cruz, Land of the Holy Cross, by the Portuguese navigators who arrived there. Yeah, after some decades it started to be called Brazil in Portuguese due to the exploration of native Brazil wood, and that time the only export of the land in Portuguese Brazil wood is called pau Brazil, with the word Brazil commonly given to etymology red like an ember, formed in Latin. What's this got to do with the...
I think he's on about the more mythological notion of High Brazil.
Oh, right, okay.
Which would tie into Tirnanog, Lemuria, Atlantis.
Okay. Or he's trying to subliminally suggest, I think your next alien weird X-Files shit episode might be on High Brazil.
Because Bill said it's possible, but that's the...
Rochi wrote, remember the RAF UFO? Oh, remember the RAF UFO event when they touched the craft coordinates they said led to where High Brazil is supposed to be? That island is on every old sea map as a real place.
Back in 1992, said Pam. I'll tell you what, Rochi. Let me read into that, and by read into that, I'll probably ring you tomorrow and be like, recant me with your tales of weird islands off the shore of the island that we live on, known as Ireland. Because that...
Ooh, what if High Brazil was an alien base back in the day, and the fair bulg and all the monstrous things from the sea
back in the
were actually
day
aliens? We're actually aliens, and because we were mad Irish Celtic bastards, we went, fuck you, and attacked them.
That does sound like the type of
Like
thing
something
a
we would
bunch of
do.
Celts on magic mushrooms would
Fuck
probably
yeah.
do. Yeah.
And like I said,
Yeah.
the fairy folk tales of the
And it could
little
explain...
people with the big eyes and the large
And it
heads
could
and the spindly fingers.
Yeah, and it could also explain why UFOs don't tend to buzz around Ireland as much as other places, because they're like, don't land there. They're where
They
the lads
keep
ran at us
fucking-
naked and covered in paint.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Quackbar got the fucking rock beamed at his head with the naked dude covered in blue paint screaming "Blah, blah, 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 blah," with the ginger beard? That guy, just... There's a really nice rock
not-
formation on the place beside it. Let's just go there. How about that? There's actually two nice rock formations on the place beside it. Let's go there.
And better yet, there's an entire island of lads over here. Like they have the entire place to themselves. They love trees and worshipping animals and stuff. And I'm pretty sure if we arrive on, they'll think that we're like spirits and they won't attack us. It'll be great.
Is this America, is it?
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. Just making sure. Because you said island near to it, and I was like... Although, if you're in a spaceship, what is near? Yes.
Precisely.
Very true.
Right.
Very true. I still would assume they'd have a concept of distance, though. Although, you see, it depends as to what their determination of what a long distance is. Because when you're able to do 1,000 kilometers a second... Yes. Very good. Very good.
Actually, what I'd like to do is
won't lie
at
to you,
some
I
point
think we managed to
maybe
get
look
through
into
that.
Tunguska.
Now that I think back, I think we actually did manage to get through that relatively-ish in order.
It was just a lot to try.
Oh, there was also, sorry, I knew there was one thing I forgot. There was also an intercepted memo from the FBI Dallas office, or the FBI Dallas field office to J. Edgar Hoover in relation to the Roswell incident, where it literally just stated, stating it wasn't a weather balloon, it was a switch. That's pretty much the whole memo.
Yeah.
But as sometimes memos don't need to be long for them to be very descriptive.
Yeah.
Same as that colonel that I mentioned earlier, where it was just like the balloon, the cover up, all that shit. Forget it. You know, you don't need to go into depth. Sometimes you can get a lot done with 25 words
or less.
Sounds like a alien expedition version of Scrabble.
My one favorite thing was they're talking about how, like, was it like the 30 or 40 years, it was like the early 90s or whatever, when they were giving the like, oh, we were covering something, not the government, we were covering something up, this is what we covered up. It was a fancy weather balloon. Do you buy that?
No.
I was like, really?
No. If you want to hear something, I think a big bit of evidence that was in the TV show that they actually kind of glossed over a little bit was there was the Jesse Marcel being treated bad, whereas he essentially did a very good job, went up, found out that this debris was nothing like had ever been seen on the planet before. There's weird alien, best described as hieroglyphics, printed on some of the more important structural parts of the ship and stuff like that. Then he's discredited by being made look like a total fucking idiot, by being made look like a weather balloon. And then he starts complaining a little bit about the fact that they made him look like a muppet, and mysteriously gets moved off to Washington to work for the Washington secret intelligence in relation to keep track on all of the Soviet activities, which is a bit contradictory to what they made him look like.
Yeah.
You know, which I'd be kind of like, is this, sorry, is he the guy with in the head of you made him the weather balloon guy? Just to clarify, the weather balloon guy is the one that you made head of intelligence in tracking all of the Soviet related. Just would have thought that maybe, the guy that thought a weather balloon was a fucking UFO mightn't be the guy, because you might be firing rockets at the Soviets.
Unless...
That's why they hired him, so to have an excuse to fire rockets at the Soviets? I doubt it, because it never happened.
No, they hired him because if he spotted that, then he's definitely going to know what the Soviets have.
Oh yeah, that's why they hired him, because he's really good at his fucking job.
Yeah.
That's why they hired him.
That was a sarcastic.
Sorry, you hire people that they're good at.
Yeah, you see, I never know with you, because customarily you're on lesses or me strapping in for 20 minutes of... Oh, I don't know where this is going.
Yeah, okay, accepted.
Thank you.
The also part I didn't like was when they brought in that, we kind of touched on it, that video, the autopsy video. It's like, that was already proven to, like, not... Like, a lot of the stuff, like, was, like, okay, the testimony and stuff like that, we didn't know if it was true or not. Like, that, when they were talking about that video that was of the Roswell crash alien autopsy,
No.
that was already proven that it wasn't.
Yeah, that's why
like,
I'm not saying... Yeah, I'm not saying that was legit. What I was saying is,
I know.
It's interesting to think of, I wonder how much of that fake thing...
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, I didn't
the
understand why they
evidence.
brought that into the episode, knowing we already knew that wasn't real to begin with. So it was kind of a waste of time, because it's like, yeah, we already knew that. Why are we bringing this in to add another 20 minutes to the show, I guess, maybe?
Well, but I mean, like, they were also
didn't.
proofing and deep. Go ahead.
They were just explaining the fact that there actually was, in fact, an autopsy, and the event actually did take place. I don't even think if they mentioned the video that much. They just...
Because they talked to the person who brought the video and pretty much said, well, yeah, he already said it wasn't true. So it's like, okay, well, why was that necessary to bring in if we already knew?
I just kind of felt like they were kind of covering bases. Like, we're talking about this, and this. That always tends to kind of come up in conversation, since we're pointing out what's true and what's not. Fuck it, here we go for anybody that may have missed it. They kind of covered straight across the board.
I guess. I just think that was like disproven, that the guy came out and said that, this wasn't an actual footage from an actual autopsy. He said that like decades ago now. So it's like, I didn't understand why But if there is
Because
people who maybe they didn't know that, I guess.
Well, as I said, at the very least, it's, while once again, the video itself may have been something that was fabricated, it's still a fabrication of something that did happen. Maybe not the way it's done in the film or anything like that, but that event, there was an autopsy. We know that now. That this is proven, by the nurse who was in and did the diagrams. It's whether it looked anything like the fake film that came out or not, it's. But then again, I wonder,
Well, I mean,
maybe
the thing
there's
is,
a lot of it that he accidentally got right.
The thing with the fake film and everything is, now that you look back at the testimony as to what the aliens on site really looked like, how fake was the fake film?
Well,
Well, it was a fake film, don't get me wrong. But
the way I see it is, it's like watching a movie about a historical event. The words, the actions that take place might not necessarily line up with what actually happened, but the event itself did happen. The people,
Right.
this thing did happen. It might not have happened exactly the way it's being presented here, but it absolutely did happen. So, from that point of view, I guess it means that you can now sit down and you can watch that, and rather than thinking, some guy fucking tried to do this and blah, 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 instead you can go, oh, this is some guy's interpretation of a historical event that we know actually did take place. It's whether we'll ever know the actual details of what happened in that room or not. This is a version based on what little people do know, or just based off the rumor, which turned out to be true.
okay, Rochi's just keeps pumping us full of stories here.
Yeah, that forest incident was kind of interesting.
40 years
I read
ago,
up
a
on that.
remote forest in Suffolk was the scene of one of the most famous purported UFO sightings in history. So just what did happen, and will we ever know for sure? Vince Turkettle, that's a fucking doozy of a name, isn't it? Vince Turkettle
It is English.
was out chopping wood. Actually, you know what? We might as well just put this on the screen for posterity purposes. Rochi, this is the last news bit I'm reading, although you keep giving me really good stuff, so I'm probably going to note it all down for future episodes. Vince Turkettle was out chopping wood one morning in Rendlesham Forest in late December 1980 when a car drew up. Out stepped two men aged about 30 dressed in suits. Good morning, do you mind if we ask you some questions? Asked one of them in a well-spoken English accent. Earlier on the 26th and 28th of December, United States Air Force USAF security personnel stationed at a nearby RAF Woodbridge had reported seeing strange lights in the surrounding forest. Forestry worker Mark Turkettle, unannounced and unidentified visitors, asked if he had been out the previous night. I said no, he recalls. They said, did you leave the house at all? Did you see anything? I said, what? They said, oh, there was a report of some red lights in the forest. We're just checking. And the two of them very politely but firmly asked me probably about 20 questions. I thought they were journalists. They suddenly said, oh, well, fair enough. There's probably nothing in it, and left. So I bought the papers every day for the next few days to find out what was going on. And of course, there was nothing. 3 years later, however, the sightings made a news of the world front page story. It proclaimed UFOs land in Suffolk. And that's official, because for anyone who isn't from over in Europe way, News of the World, very, very reliable source of information, never known to fabricate anything. And that's official. The story is based on a memo from an RAF Woodbridge Deputy Base Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt. Oh, I have seen this actually, sorry. To the Ministry of Defence. It was released by the US government and described an encounter with an apparent UFO in the forest. Since then, the sightings has been the source of much debate and speculation among UFO enthusiasts and the subject of numerous books, articles, and TV programs. In March, a documentary concluded the sighting had achieved legendary status, like the Loch Ness Monster or King Arthur. The forest even has its own official UFO trail, complete with a life-size replica of the flying saucer. Oh yeah. Mark Turkettle says the UK authorities have said they did not learn about the incident until Holt's memo, but the memo was not written until 2 weeks after he received his visit, he says. So someone must have told them before, he says. So he says, and she says, and he says. Only after the visit did Turkettle begin to hear rumours of UFO sightings in the forest. Yeah, won't be reading all of that. That's a fucking yep. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll look into that, and if there's enough there to do an episode on, or because I won't lie to you, I've had a lot of fun getting to nerd out on the alien stuff again, and I did say to Buzz that we might do. I don't have time to add a new show onto my list of shit that I have to do every week as is, but maybe like a once a month we'll do an old GC files on the channel. We might replace it on a Thursday show, or myself and Buzz might do an extra show, or well, you guys are obviously all welcome to join as well, but we might do an extra show once a month or something where we get this hair out of my eye.
I wouldn't mind re-examining that Dolce story again one day, because that was.
I wouldn't mind
fun.
re-examining the Dolce story one day when I have more new information to go on in relation to Dolce, because it'll be rehashing, and also that's a real. My hair hates me. Realistically, the best thing to do. Realistically, the best thing to do probably would be. I feel Dolce is a two-parter.
Yeah, I just remember when we did it, we had a lot of technical issues. So like, there was. Now that we don't have those.
Well, we can do. Well, if I am okay with doing Dolce again, if that's the case.
Plus, we didn't have Giz, and we didn't have Carter's input.
Very truesies. I'm okay with doing Dolce again. Dolce.
Because that is an absolute insanity. Show.
That's like an alien military base under the ground run by lizardmen and other aliens.
Yes.
And alien
war.
I was loving that because you guys were telling me about that. That sounded fucking fun.
Where lizardmen and aliens battled with each other and people got limbs blown off and everything. I'm not dude, I'm not sure.
Stargate?
No, not fucking Stargate.
Star Trek?
I swear to God, I'm going to boot you off the show if you keep fucking comparing the real life stuff, well, the supposed real life stuff to the
shit.
Because the problem with Dulce is, like, I wouldn't mind having a documentary where they went through some of the testimony in relation to Dulce. Like,
do the same thing.
Oh yeah, no.
The Roswell,
Discovery Channel, fucking UFO week or whatever it is next year. There's a fucker. Actually, you know what? There's a whole series of TV shows just you could do from this particular piece of software.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's some of the shit in relation to that Dulce stuff, and you're just like, that just can't be real. Do you know what I mean?
Can't it?
No, but as in like, I'm not saying what the guy is saying is false, because all of the facts and everything from multiple interviews and everything, they all match up. The story's never changed. Everything's bang on, but it's just so fucking out there, and you're just like, fucking hell, man. If that's
bad thing is I think he's really the only one or two people that have like any supposed eyewitness testimony. Like, that's one that maybe suffers from not having enough.
I think,
like, we have people that see stuff on the outside, but
but isn't the reason that there's lots of less testimony in relation to the inside of it is like practically been in the mafia? You either get out when you're handed your pension and you've done your fucking time, or you fucking work there, or some fucking lizard man or alien fucking ends up having you.
Yeah.
But it's supposedly like it's an underground base where humans and aliens to do there's a whole agreement.
There's a
do you know what I mean?
war between the lizard people and the Greys, and oh my god!
And the humans are.
So when they decide next week's lunch menu, they just battle it out like right there.
Oh.
Well, no, but this is supposedly like. There's certain reports that, like, some of the abductions and stuff that happen, people, you're not getting taken away in a UFO. You end up in this place where the aliens are allowed to autopsies
like
and investigations on you.
Experiments. Yeah. There was that weird like cow child thing.
Yeah. There's a load of stuff in relation to that there's like a essentially some well, probably written, but there's some embargo with the aliens where it's kind of like you explain some of this fucking shit because we can't fucking figure it out, and you can a couple of hillbillies up in your ship and probe them and see what you figure out from them.
At the end of the day, the greatest resource this planet has is its overabundance of humanity, and I mean, if we can have multi-billion-dollar industries run off of the illegal trading of human lives, then I don't see why you're so surprised by the notion that governments would do the exact same thing once again.
Oh no!
Considering that the
Just
vast
to
majority of
clarify,
them back in the day got their power by being slave traders anyway.
just to clarify, the government selling out their own people to be used as experimental meat in
Right.
a trade
Not a
for
shocker.
extra tech. That's not the bit that I have the fucking out. That's the bit of the story where I was like, well, that's true, right?
Yeah.
And I won't lie to you. All of the story is true because your man. What's the guy's name? What's the main dude from Dulce again?
I'll look it up.
Because, dude, I have no doubt that the government, like, so what does this do? Oh, well, it'll blah, blah, blah. How many people do you want?
What?
50, 60? Sure, whatever.
The interesting thing with the guy from Dulce was that kind of, not unlike the Bob Lazar incident, but to a slightly more questionable degree, I suppose, because like the Bob Lazar thing was the guys kept showing up in his house, and eventually Bob Lazar kind of.
Oh no!
No, I don't think he said that. Well, I'm sure he did at some stage. when he
No,
was like,
no, I just saw a picture of something that they. Oh, okay. Schneider. So Philip Schneider.
yes. Okay. So anyway, not unlike the Bob Lazar thing where FBI were showing up and wrecking Bob Lazar shit until Bob Lazar had kind of gotten on so many documentaries and things where it was kind of like it's going to be real suspect if that guy disappears out of nowhere. Phil Schneider was reporting this at conventions and alien meetings and all, or like alien symposiums and things like that and everything. He died very
Seriously.
so mysteriously, and was being like constantly harassed by FBI and CIA and people, and multiple attempts on his life, like documented multiple attempts, not just like, oh, some guy shot me but no one was there because I was driving around a corner and I'm so fucking bossed in a car that no one was able to keep up. You know, like this was all like people were like, oh yeah, no, there was definitely a gunshot and I saw the guy hit the ground kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? And not unlike the Bob Lazar thing, it kind of leads to a lot of questions where you're like, okay, the story you're pumping out, kind of weird. Not afraid to deny that. But a whole lot of government people trying to shut you up talking about it, which is making me kind of be like, why? I thought there was going to be more to that sentence.
The
Just
physical
me.
scars he had,
Why?
obviously, like him missing half of his hand, like his fingers on his one hand, the scars on his face, kind of. I mean, obviously they could come from something else, but
Yeah, and even the missing bit of the finger, which was supposedly taken off by an alien laser gun.
yes.
Yeah. So I remember some doctor examined it and said that the burns were
No, it was a beam, because I remember he said the alien went like this, and some beam came out of his hand.
Yeah,
and,
but there
he
was
went to block it.
there was a strange
Whew.
consistency to the burns that they hadn't seen before, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the preciseness. Anyway, that is a different story for a different time as we're coming to the end of the show. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. The truth is out there, and evidently the majority of the truth currently seems to be on Discovery Plus. If none of you have it, go get it. It's totally worth. There's fucking hell, man.
You type in UFO and you got 18 fucking specials pop up.
Yeah, and they're not just 18 specials; they're 18 specials with like an ungodly amount of evidence. Like it's not
That
even
Roswell was like five episodes,
Six.
about an hour each.
Yeah.
6 hours. 6 hours of people not talking shit. That's
And
what
then
I'm-
the other one, there's 8 episodes, about 42 minutes a piece, which is the one we're getting into next week.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, maybe not next week. We might do a break.
Okay.
Or, dude,
Well,
if look, man, I know you and I, Buzz, and if we do 3
No, that's
weeks,
fine. I just thought that's what you said. We were going to wait till next week to do the
if
other
we
one.
do
That's what I
3
thought.
weeks of
It don't
aliens
matter
back
to
to
me.
back, we are just. I know what's going to happen, and it's going to be we are now the GC files. What is this GoreCast you speak of? We only talk about aliens. But I think, because Rochi and Bill and everyone in the chat has been so. Not that they're customarily not quite involved in the chat and everything like that, but it seems everyone's got their own little bit of alien stuff that they're quite interested in or they've been reading on and everything. We will definitely at the end of the month. No, this is the end of the month. Okay, so at the end of next month, we will do another GC Files style episode where we will cover more stuff.
Something.
So if you have any things that you would like us to cover, because we mightn't do them all on a team. Like, we might start our team as in we're going to do that Ben Hansen series and we'll go through some of the facts and stuff like that as well. But if there's other things that you would like us to pull up live online and cover while we're there with you and have a discussion about, have your list of UFO conspiracies or alien lizard people or whatever you got. Have it lined up and we'll go investigate it live with you and discuss some of the facts and see if we can find any things that are interesting and everything. And I'm sure Giz will have some TV shows that they tie into, so that'll be there as a bit of information. And
hey, laugh all you want, but don't forget, we are now talking about truths that people used to laugh at.
what the fuck does that have to do with what I just said?
Because you're implying that me correlating certain stuff in TV with actual events is me just, seeing shit that isn't there.
No, it was definitely there. It's just in a TV show. Cool. Right, so that's it. If you are new to the channel and you haven't been here before, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. It will help us grow the channel as we try to strive to get to the magical number of 1,000 so that the overlords of YouTube will view us as an actual channel and let us do the magical word known as monetization, which would be nice. You know what I mean? It would be super, super cool. Although I feel that is a farther strive that we might do, so I feel my discussions of Patreon from the numerous years might be slowly coming to a more realistic fruition. So keep posted once we figure out a bikini that we can get Giz to do dances in for a Patreon perk.
It's gotta have
Or
tassels.
OnlyFans.
That's not happening.
Well, here's the thing. If we make it as one of the top tier perks, it's only a real GoreCast fan and or Giz fan that's going to be paying for the indeterminate price of a GoreCast host dancing.
$1 million.
I feel I want to put the tier in a level where people might pay it if they're crazy enough. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. Not you specifically. It'll be a GoreCast bikini dance tier. I won't lie to you. I made it up on the spot, and the more I talk about it, the more I'm liking it.
The more it's happening.
Roach is like,
Yeah.
Roach is like, donate or Giz will set up an OnlyFans.
Yeah, it's kind of like me dipping my toe into OnlyFans. It's kind of like I'm on the not seedy side of OnlyFans. How do I feel just dancing around in a mankini? Okay.
Both Bill and Rochi came up with pretty much the same comment within seconds of each other.
Do it before you open up an OnlyFans.
Well, donate or
Donate.
Giz will set up an OnlyFans, and then donate or we will make Giz get on OnlyFans.
Only gay.
I still think the guy who what was the name? There was some guy that set up a cooking show and he called it Only Can. Oh yeah, that was it. Not cans. He called it Only Pans. It's a cooking show called Only Pans, and I was just like, that's good. I came for titties, but I won't lie to you. That guy's ragu. Amazing. Anyway, that's it for us this week. Myself and Giz and the boys will be back on Sunday where we are playing The Last Day. No, we're not. We're playing Resident Evil, the board game. Maybe, question mark?
There should be, I should be able to get at least an hour or two, I think, worth of a game. It's a demo version of the game, so it's...
How many players?
I was going to say, it's a demo version of the game, so it's 3 or 4 players. So I think the way it'll work is the 3 of you controlling a character, and I'll be taking the part of the zombies at least.
Right. I thought it was more players. Is there another game we could do?
If
We'll figure
we
this
could
out
get-
in post.
I suppose we could, Scare Tactics we could get more players for if you wanted to go back to doing that. I haven't...
We could do more
No.
scare tactics.
I don't mind.
Yeah, I just don't want to drop Bill and Rochi. out of nowhere. Do you know what I mean? Like we've had a nice Sunday regime going. What I was saying about games, I thought it was going to be like with a couple of people at least.
No, that's why I was saying to you last time that it's a demo game, and I think there's only a certain amount of people that'll be able to play.
All right.
it.
When you said it to me, it was a demo game, and there's only the first level. I didn't know about a restriction on player numbers. Okay, Giz and I will discuss this off air more so, but currently it'll probably be a game of scare tactics or something else unless we figure out something in the meantime. If we figure out something in the meantime. And other than that, we'll catch you all next week. I should probably play the trailer for this Sunday's GoreCast show, but instead I'm going to play... I was looking for an Alien trailer from season 1 where myself and Giz got abducted by aliens and I came back and my butt hurt. Because I thought that would be kind of applicable, but I couldn't find that. So instead, for the 40th anniversary,
Space Truckers.
Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah, instead for the 40th anniversary of Alien as a franchise, myself and Giz had teleported onto the Nostromo, and needless to say,
Didn't go well.
it didn't go well because Giz decided to eat outside of his normal culinary delicacies, and
Which never goes well.
it never goes well. You know, it's mostly just upchucking and aliens. Anyway, that's it from us. We'll see you on Sunday night. We're going to be playing some sort of board games with the boys. GoreCast out, bitches. Bye.
Coming this Sunday on the GoreCast.
Oh man, I have to say, I am so stuffed right now. It's not even funny. I'm like a Christmas turkey.
Yeah, well, good for you. My insides feel like I'm after swallowing a bag of razor blades.
I don't look too hot to be bluntly honest.
I don't bloody well feel too hot either.
Yeah, okay, we better get you to Medway, buddy. Let's go.
Oh, God. Have fun. Jesus, that fucking hot.
Man, smoke that cigarette quick.
Oh, God.
You're not looking good, mate.
I don't feel good.
Up the table, buddy.
God, this is why I don't eat weird stuff, same food all the time.
You can't eat sausage rolls and chopped up nuggets in space, dude. They won't keep. We're floating through orbit for 10 months.
Of course they'll keep their process as fuck.
That's absolute madness.
God. Oh, God.
Oh.
God. Get out of here, you bitch!
You know, I was actually in too bad.
In that case, congratulations to the proud owner of an alien slug thing.
Oh, it's one of my own killing machine packs.
Anyway, if you want to join myself and the kids talking about more of these acid blood-dripping alien feasties because it's their 40th anniversary, join us on American Horrors this Sunday, 8:30 p.m. CST, and whatever that equates to GMTs, where we're going to be getting deep and dark into the Alien franchise.
Boy, you're the cute little guy. You are. Aren't you just the cutest little killing machine ever? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Whoa.
Don't forget, if you enjoy our Madcap GoreCast horror hijinks, we stream 3 nights a week over on YouTube, Mondays, Thursdays, and Sundays, where you can see a little bit of this. Turd spoon, god damn, I knew there was something I wanted to bring up in the... God damn, I don't know what a fucking turd spoon is, but I'm mad to...
Yeah, pretty in-depth.
Most definitely some of this.
With a new 2009 twist. She pulls out of her vagina.
I'll give it to her though, because like, you know how like magicians kind of like do something and they pause dramatically? She took that dramatic pause.
And occasionally some of this.
Our favorite Halloween movies.
What's up, GoreCasters? Welcome back here to the GoreCast. Yeah, okay, I'm here. I'm back.